Through the concrete cracks worn weary by work boots and high heels. Through the concrete cracks showered in tears of sorrow, tears of joy. Through the concrete cracks rumbled by reverberations of 100 years, a flower on the hill takes its first breath, and a grand hope springs. Welcome to the Spring Street podcast at the intersection of creation and destruction in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. And now, a word from the sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Starship Kairos, a podcast studio available for bookings in downtown Los Angeles. Starship Kairos is where my guests and I make this show happen. Soundproofed, cozy, and equipped with professional audio gear, Starship Kairos is an ideal location for any type of podcast. Starship Kairos offers a full suite of services including content consultation, mixing and mastering, and custom jingle writing. For rates and booking, check them out on Instagram at Starship Kairos or click on the link in the description. And now, let's dive in. Rose.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Spring Street podcast.
Woo woo.
It feels nice to be back in the studio. You are the first person I've had in the studio in like 5 or 6 weeks. It's been a long time. It's been way too long.
Yeah.
So I'm excited that we're doing this. So today I'm going to be listening to your story about the journey that you have been on, going from working as a stripper in Miami at 11 to no longer working as a stripper, right? No longer.
Model, brand ambassador, and actress.
Model, brand ambassador, actress, and also having a pretty pivotal, I guess, change in your life in terms of faith and belief, becoming a Christian.
Definitely.
So I guess I'll let you just take it away. What was the beginning? How did you first become a stripper?
I guess, let's see. So my sister became a stripper. And when I was younger in high school, I remember she came back with lots of
I'm
money.
gonna keep this a tiny bit.
Is it? I'm sorry.
That's perfect. That's great. So sister stripper came back with lots of money.
And I noticed that, and I grew up poor, so like it was like $300. I'm like, oh my God, like, so that's kind of where I got the idea when I got older, and I was in high school, and it was just tough. And one of my friends called me to go to spring break to Miami. And I'm thinking like, I've always wanted to go to spring break. I remember Girls Gone Wild and just on TV of like, Florida, Orlando. So I was like, how do I get there? And how do I make money quick enough? Because it's like $2,000 to like, total of the trip. And I'm like, you know what? My sister made a lot of money that one time. And I was actually even looking into doing like porn and stuff like that, which is crazy.
This is when you're in high school?
Yeah, high school.
Wow.
Senior year. Almost done. And yeah, it was a lot, but I was like, whatever, fuck it. Let me try it out. If she did it, I can do it too. Mm-hmm. And I'll just do it for that one time. I remember I actually called my stepsister. I was like, come with me. Can you, support me, whatever. I don't think I told my mom or my sister about it. I think it was like low key. And she's like, yeah, I'm down to support. And the day that it came to go to my audition, she bailed. She just wasn't there, which is like, I don't know if she really thought I was going to do it or whatever. But so I was like, I'm on my own. I'm going in. So.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just turned 18.
Wow.
So I knew, like, I want to get out of Minnesota. This is whack. Like, I'm with my mom and my sister, and she has a kid, and it's, just, it was too dramatic, too much at home. I wanted to get away, so I knew, like, I need to get some money, need to go to Miami and go to spring break and live my best life. So when I started dancing at Deja Vu in Minneapolis, I got hired.
So this was to make money to go to Miami?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to go to Miami and then to just make extra money too. But more so for the trip to Miami for spring break.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that I made my goal and I went to Miami and I lived my best life. But I didn't actually really start getting into dancing after until I guess more so the end of high school, because it was, I guess, getting more real that like, okay, now you're getting to college, you're going to move, people are moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little taste of the money coming from poverty. And it was addicting. You know, you're like, okay, what am I going to do at a 9 to 5? What am I doing? $7.25 at the time is minimum wage. So
That's crazy.
you ain't going nowhere with that. And I wasn't the best at school. So, you know, I got C's, D's, F's, you know, wasn't the smartest in class. So it wasn't my strong suit. So I definitely didn't want to, I wasn't really thinking about going to college and stuff like that. So I was like, you know, just thinking about money and survival, really.
Mm-hmm. What did the money look like at the time when you were at Deja Vu?
Let's see, so long ago. I would say because it was my first time and I was brand new, and in that industry, no one holds your hand. No one tells you. You just have to go and do it and figure it out, you know, of how to maneuver. Some girls, you know, you might meet might be a little nice to you and be like, oh yeah, but usually like whoever you get hired by, either there's like a house mom or whatever, and she kind of just runs down.
A house mom?
So a house mom kind of, she has all the necessities that a woman needs in the back, like, you know, tampons, Band-Aids, the whole shebang, and then just kind of maintains the girls in the back and just helps out. So she breaks it down to you, gives you the rundown, and then the rest is just on your own, just to how to talk and hustle, make your money. But you can make around, I'd say your first time, girl, 0 to 300.
0 to 300.
Maybe
were there
your
days
first...
or nights where you only made where you didn't make anything?
Yeah, I mean, there's nights where, I mean, even on like busy nights, I mean, it's that's why it's so scary, because it's like you never know what you're gonna make. You know, you can make. I walked out the club with like $25 before, or even have to owe the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I've heard about guaranteed. That. I met a girl who was a stripper, and she was telling me that she had to rent time. Like she had to pay for like the privilege to be there.
Yes.
Which is wild. Is that standard practice at strip clubs?
Basically, you're, you know, 1099, and so they have to make their money somehow off of you. And since everything's in cash, they can't track it. So they just have to mostly charge you off of the dances that you do individually. So if you're doing like a $40 dance, they're going to charge you $5 for each dance, and they usually have a nice gentleman to assist you and direct you to the rooms and make sure you're on the list and make sure who's in the room, who's not, to charge you at the night. And then you usually have to pay the DJ a house fee. Who else? Managers want a piece. Everyone wants a piece of your money. That's a whole nother thing too. Wow. Everyone's like, run me in them pockets. And it's like, but you ain't entitled to nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So but 300 on a good night would be what you would walk away with, like after paying out all those people?
That's just like you're in the beginning. In the beginning when you're learning, you're just a baby stripper in the beginning, you know, like newborn. You don't know how to. You're probably out there getting drunk and not really focused on making money, because you're like, oh, it's so fun, and you know, you make a little here and there, but you're not actually like making as much money as you will probably in a year. It's like any job, you're not going to be the greatest until you get some practice.
Yeah. What was that audition like? I mean, I can imagine you were probably nervous. It was potentially awkward.
I was nervous, very nervous. Which is crazy is that it was a fully nude club.
Whoa.
So the first time I had to get fully nude on stage and show everything, and it was pretty dead. The club was pretty dead, which was nice. But
Wow.
it was very exposing, I guess,
No doubt.
But I guess, I had a couple shots before then, and even beforehand, I've always wear like booty shorts. I was always very comfortable with my body.
Mm-hmm.
So showing it wasn't like, oh no, it was like, yes, I got a body outie, so I might as well show it. So I was very nervous, but still confident in a way, but still nervous.
Yeah.
So yeah, very nerve wracking.
Was an audition like an actual just kind of like dry run, like we're gonna throw you out there, or we're just gonna see what you got?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's they give you you walk in, you say I'm in for audition, they say okay, get ready in the back, and you get ready, and they just throw you on stage. Either it's usually you're after this girl's off and you're on, and you do your thing for one song, and either they tell you to take your top off with it, and
whoa,
yeah. So out there for the dogs.
That's wild. Man, so I've actually never been to a strip club before.
Really?
And so everything that you're telling me is really just what I've heard is just what I've heard from other people.
Okay.
So I actually don't have like a ton of points of reference besides anecdotes. So I'm trying to piece it together in my mind. I mean, like, there's a lot of things that I would like, I guess.
I would say each strip club is pretty different. I mean, there's gentlemen's club, really. It's more of like it's not like a nightclub. That's what I did like about 11, that it was like a nightclub.
And 11 was the club in Miami.
Yes.
That you worked at eventually.
And I started working there in 2017. But a lot of strip clubs are just like gentlemen clubs, which are like more relaxed. Like the tone is like darker toned. The chairs are more like, comfortable. They're not like booths. They do have booths in the back where it's more like individual chairs with tables with like food serving. Like it's just more relaxed. Gentlemen's club versus like a nightclub.
Yeah, I guess that's what maybe I was trying to get at, is like, what is the routine of, like, what is the scheduling? So it sounded like there was somebody who comes out and like there's a song and they do their dance, and like then somebody else comes on the stage. Like, what is that? Like that programming like?
Yeah, for most clubs, when you clock in, you get ready. Once you're ready, you go to the DJ booth and you sign in. You put your name on the list to get on stage, and it's always like usually a lot of clubs, it's like mandatory for get on stage, which is kind of like ass, because it's like, well, like, I don't want to. Sometimes you don't feel like it, and you're just too lazy, or you're busy, or whatever. But sometimes it's good too, because it's in the club, it's like advertisement, I guess. But you sign up, and sometimes they just tell you it's an hour, 30 minutes right away. Pick your songs.
Hour?
Yeah, because just however many girls are in front of you.
Yeah. Oh, like an hour that you have to wait.
Yeah, until you're on
not
stage.
An hour on stage.
No.
I was like, wow, that's a long time.
I'm like, oh no. So yeah, and then get on stage. Usually you can pick your songs, what you want. You get like maybe 2-3 songs. And
did you have like a favorite song that you'd always pick?
No, not really. Just whatever I was bopping to that at that moment.
Yeah. So you pick your song, you get on the list, you wait to your moments, and then you're only up there for the duration of that song, really?
Yeah, about 3 songs.
Okay.
So 10 minutes maybe, if that. No, 3.
And you said that that's kind of like a advertisement experience. So is the real, I guess, money to be made from doing dances, like private dances? Okay.
VIPs are like the main thing that you want to aim for. It's easier. You're off your feet. You're not really, dancing that much. You're mostly just talking to the client, and you're getting paid the most. So,
what's the difference between a VIP and like just a dance?
So usually there's like general, and usually it goes by time and just how like secretive or just private it is. Usually VIP is more private. Either it's like fully covered off or halfway like see-through or whatever it is, versus like a general dance could be out in the open or just on the chair right there.
So I mean, getting into that world at such a young age, and probably having the context of like your sister had paved the way a little bit for you, and like this is just what at that point in time, like, did that just feel like this is just everyday life? Or was there, like, from the beginning, did you feel like, I don't know, does this feel weird? Like, what was going through your mind throughout that period of time?
At first, it was fun. It was fantastic. Making money in seconds, having someone hand you $100 and some for a little dance, like, was crazy. Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was having a fantastic time. I mean, you're meeting a whole bunch of beautiful women that are your age too. And yeah, you're just living your best life. And I was high key like still in school.
Yeah, it's wild.
So I think I had like a couple months left, and which is crazy is that I didn't even graduate or even get my GED. Yeah. And I've done so much. And, it's funny because in high school, you think it's everything. Like, you think if you don't get the GED, if you don't go to college, you're not going to get and that was like pounded into my head. And that's something that I really wanted to escape, because it was like, I don't care. I don't want to go to college. I'm not good at school. I'm not going to get the house. I'm not right now anyways. I just didn't see that future for me at that point, because times were tough. I just needed money to survive and eat food. So, yeah, it was tough out there, but I was focusing on the money more than getting my credits to graduate. And my mom was, I was a lot to deal with during middle school, high school, my anger issues and skipping school truancy. Yeah, I was I wasn't a bad kid, but just not rebellion. Just I hated school, so I didn't want to go, and that just caused a lot of problems with the government, the state. Like, you by law have to go, and I just didn't want to. So that was a really big tug and pull. But so at the end, I was just kind of like, I'm making money right now. I'm busy, like whatever, schools, blah, blah, blah. I just wasn't focused, and time went by and kind of went MIA, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then I started dancing. And then when I was dancing at Deja Vu for probably about 3 months, I have met my ex-boyfriend. Oh, geez, that's a whole story.
Was he a client, or was he like somebody who worked at the bar?
Yeah. So, the manager / owner, whatever, people of Deja Vu, had friends. Friends come in and whatever. And this cool guy, he was hot, 6'4", just buff, ripped. Got the watch, got the body. Yeah, just my kind of my type at that time of just manly man. And I was looking for a guy to run away with and get out of Minnesota, because I was like, it's ghetto here. It's boring. I want to see the world.
Yeah.
So I met him, and he wooed me, and he said that he's going back to Vegas and wants to bring me with. And I said, okay, let's go.
Wow.
Right.
How much older was he than you?
I was 18 turning 19, I believe, and he was 29 turning 30.
It's pretty big.
So he was
pretty big difference.
huge difference. And it's funny because I always said like, oh, I'm into older guys because, I have daddy issues. But I didn't really realize like that part. But then when the men are actually into younger girls, it's like, that's not daddy issues. That's just kind of pedophile-ish.
Yeah.
We want to be honest.
Yeah.
Kind of predator-ish, because it's like, what do you find in trust with some child, really? Because when 18 is so young, you don't know nothing. You think you do, but you really don't. So from there, I moved to Arizona, and we were living with his friend for like 3 months in Scottsdale. And then we moved to Vegas for about 6 months. And when I met him, he was a personal trainer and just this he was really fit, so I believed it, and et cetera, et cetera. So for the first like 6 months, I'd say that it was cupcakes and sprinkles until I want to say, no, I'd say the first year. Because we like the first like probably like 4 to 6 months. I'm not really sure about the timeline, but about 6 months in, we were still in Minnesota, living out life and for summertime, because summertime in Minnesota is really nice. Yeah, like it's worth it to go out there and check it out in the Midwest. People really appreciate it because it's only like 4 months, but yeah. So then we went to Arizona, then we went to Vegas, and that was about a year of total of just traveling and doing all that. At the end, I peeped that he was talking to some woman.
Oh, geez.
And he was introduced me like, hey, this chick is like his not girlfriend, but girlfriend, and she found out about you, and now she's not giving me any money.
Oh shit.
Right? And I'm like, okay, like who is she? Like, and basically she was a dancer too. She made all this money. Then he starts like kind of opening up this world to what we would call pimping.
Oh,
but
shit.
He made it more into of a family, like, oh, she's helping me out, blah 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 blah. At first I just thought it was some chick that she was obsessed with him and like whatever and helping him out, blah blah blah. And then he started introducing, like, trying to get me comfortable with having her and understanding like why she's around and blah 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, what is this, sister wives? What is this? Like, huh?
Yeah.
And at that time, I was open to other women, like sexually.
Mm-hmm.
So
in like the relationship, or for you personally,
and for me personally,
okay.
Like not dating, but I have messed around, So I was open to that. Like I did the whole pride thing. I was I was for it. What would you call like bisexual? I wasn't out there saying it, but like, I had my times, and that's a whole other thing that we'll get into too. Why and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But so I was like, okay, maybe sister wife. This sounds, I was open to, because I was in love with him. When you're in love, you're blind, and you're gonna just be like, okay, I'm gonna go with it, figure it out. Whatever, like, sure. It's not affecting me now. I don't know, but sure. I was in the mind like, sure, I guess if she's giving you money, go ahead, finesse.
Yeah.
So, long story short, that just tumbled into just more women, more introducing women, just down the line. We were together for 3 years.
Wow.
2015 to 2017.
Wow.
Back and forth from Minnesota, Vegas, and we even traveled to Houston. Where else? North Dakota, South Dakota. We got in his car he'd always have the fanciest cars. He would always finesse and figure out how to get his credit up and get all the best cars and be rolling. But I would be paying for everything. At first, I wasn't paying for everything because he had his little mistress, little, girlfriend, and then she found out, so she cut the funds off. And then so I had to step in, and I didn't really know, like, oh, I was stepping in. And then so I had all this pressure of, and I'm like, I don't know what else to go back to, because it's like, what do I go back home to Minnesota with my mom and my sister and her kid, and it's just congested, and no one wants to go back home, and you've gone so far. You're like, I'm so far now, already here to figure it out, So in my mind, I really didn't think I had an option in this sort of like, so accepted it and tried to look for the best way and convince myself, like, okay, this is it. Like, this is the hustle. This is what we're doing. Like, okay, let's make the family. Let's try to do it. But it didn't always pan out so well. I definitely noticed that. I mean, we went, like I was saying, we went everywhere from like Houston and Airbnb in Houston for 3 weeks, and I would be again paying for everything. And I mean, it would just be me and him. He would be going on apps, texting women. We'd be meeting young girls at lunch, talking to them. He would be convincing them to sign up as a stripper, join the team, and let me pimp you out. But I'm not pimping you. I'm just your man. I'm just your manager. Da 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 da. And it's just a predator that preys on victims, on women that are young, dumb, and not even young, dumb, just young, probably fatherless. Have no nothing, no guidance, just vulnerable, and they prey on that. So you don't know.
So while you were on these trips, were you working out of different clubs then?
I was, yeah.
So he kind of had connections in all these different cities?
Yeah, not necessarily connections. It's just look up on Google.
Really?
When we're just in the car heading over here. We're going to Vegas, so we might as well stop at here, and here. Let's look up on what's the, 5-star strip club, So I would be at, like, I remember I went to a horrible strip club in, like, how was it? Freaking North Dakota or something, just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was horrible because there was no one there, and you just get these old, fat, white, nasty truckers.
Oh, man.
Nothing against, white truckers, but yeah, no, it was just not the ideal. And and then, like, the thing is being so young, now seeing it, I didn't know. I just thought this is the job. Just so demonic too, just a demonic realm, which is like, you don't know when you're in it. You're just doing it for the money. And at first it was fine. Looking for the girls. Some girls would stick around, be the new wifey, but then that would turn into a whole other thing, because it's like a whole other woman is living in the apartment or house, and now I have to be okay with this man that I'm in love with now touching and kissing and being on another woman, because that's his tactic to convince that young girl that you're mine, you're so it was a very manipulative way that those men do that, pimps, I guess. But I would say that there's levels to it too, because from what I've heard of what, quote unquote, I would say, I mean, a pimp, if he's taking your money, he's pimping you out. But I know that there's called gorilla pimps, and those are the ones that, like, beat on the women, like, to the point where they're locking them in closets for days start, crazy stuff. Like, I've heard stories, and I'm just like, well, the man that, I was with, he was definitely not like that, just more manipulative of making him the victim, and stuff like that. So pretty crazy.
Having spent all that time with him, I mean, I'm sure you probably heard a lot of his backstory, and you've also probably had time to like reflect and think about that experience. Where do you think that came from? Like that guy had that attitude and that approach in life. Like, did he come from a privileged background? Did he come from a background of poverty?
So
like what?
After time that I got away from him, I realized like he had trauma. But he told me a few, after 3 years, little times in his life he would talk about his mom or his family or whatever, and he had abandonment issues. His mom was like a prostitute. So his mom was a little crazy. One story he told me is that like he would have to sleep with his shoes on at times wherever his mom would be relying at or sleeping at. He would have to sleep with his shoes on because she might just wake him up and leave and go somewhere else.
Whoa.
Constantly. And then when he was probably about 14, I would say, 14, 15. I guess he was a bad kid. There's definitely more details I can't really remember right now that he has talked about his life, but he said that his mom was told him she's going out to like get some cigarettes or something, and never came back.
Wow.
And abandoned him, and he hasn't talked to her since. And I do believe I remember the last update I did have with him years ago, or over 8 years ago. I remember he said that like, hey, he had a soft spot for opening up to me about his mom, because he did it quite a few times. But he said that like, I tried to contact my mom, and I called her, and and this is after like probably 20 years of even talking to her, and she said like, don't ever call me, I never want to talk to you again. So I'm like,
jeez.
So it's like, hurt people. I'm not giving an excuse, but like, people's actions come from a motive from somewhere, and that's his trauma. So, and I believe that he hated women in a way. So for him to pimp out women, he didn't feel for that, because he's like, well, my mom was a prostitute, so it's whatever. But it's funny. And I think he was really against prostitution when I met him. But dancing, he wasn't. And I do remember him saying that he did get caught up once before with pimping out prostitutes in Vegas. And that's a more serious crime than stripping, because stripping is legal versus prostitution.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know if he was just saying that because of that instant, which probably, because if you were doing it in the beginning, you obviously didn't care. But so from his past and what he was telling me, seems like he was a super savage, and I mean, I even thank God I didn't meet him back then, when he was crazy like that. It definitely matured me. I definitely experienced things. I definitely tapped into just more drugs and stuff. I was already in like high school, was already like drinking and smoking weed, like 16. But like when I started dancing at Deja Vu, I never did any hard drugs until probably like a month in or so, maybe. This girl had acid in a vial. Not like a little foil where you're giving it, no, a vial where you could probably wipe so you could destroy someone's life.
Jeez.
Crazy. And like gave me some drops, and
whoa,
she was her story too. I mean, I've seen her from just watching her from social media, from when I met her to now. It's like, wow, I'm surprised she came out on the other end, because rough. But yeah.
That must have been an insane trip.
Doing
acid
it was.
And working at a strip club. I mean,
it was actually a good time the first time, which is awesome. Yeah, that was the whole thing in itself. But I will say, the second time that I did do it, it was horrible.
Yeah.
I had a bad trip, and
oh my God.
it was to the point where I'm like, I will never do this again, because it's just not worth it, you know, to ever have this bad trip again. Like, we don't need to be doing this. Like, this is not meant for him. And this is straight chemicals. Be careful, people, because it can really mess you up. But yeah.
So how did you get out of that relationship that you were in?
I just got sick of it. You know, I got sick of the women. I got sick of paying for everything. I got sick of, you know, basically cheating, and me at first it was all kiki, fun and games, team, whatever. But then it really started hurting me, you know? Yeah, I really just, I couldn't deal with women and the man that I'm in love with, you know. It traumatizing, you know, knowing that you're accepting this man to sleep with other women.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I even look at people who do open relationships. I understand that people think that might spice it up. Don't do it. Don't do it. Even like threesomes, don't do it. It's the worst thing you could do for your relationship. If you want to spice it up, I don't know. Go to big, I don't know. Do something.
Yeah, something that's not a threesome.
Yeah, it's just, it's gonna tarnish it. It's gonna really make it sour. You don't need a whole nother person in it. It's twos and not threes a crowd.
Yeah. Is that something that you kind of realized over time? Like, at first, was there still a factor of, like, I guess, novelty and excitement and like, wow? Or was it like from the beginning didn't feel good?
Yeah, it was wow. It was like, oh, this is cool. This is like hot, you know, this is hip, whatever. It was, and like, I'm into girls, and yeah, like, we can do this together. It was cool and hot for the first minute until my ass is working, and I'm the only one working, and there's a whole bunch of women coming in and out, and getting groovy with my man, and I have to be okay with it. And no, no woman, I don't think, if you're truly in love with someone, you're not going to be okay with them being with someone else. Like, no, I'm stingy. So yeah, after time, things, I'd say like the second year just really started going bad, breaking up, getting back together, just turmoil, just really jabbing at each other. It was just not good.
When did that final separation happen? What was that moment like?
So I remember my friend was telling me about, me and him already knew about 11. We heard in the grapevine in the dancing world, like, oh, there's this new club called 11, you know, I gotta go there. And one of my girlfriends from Deja Vu, and we kind of worked at a couple clubs together, and I still know her now. And it's funny because some of the dancers did well, some of the dancers did not do so well that I'd known in the industry. We can't do it forever, but fun fact, the oldest I've seen is in the strip club is about like 79, 80. Old lady, like
80.
Like,
wow,
have the EMT right there ready because
Had she been a stripper her whole life, or was that like a later in life decision?
I have no clue. It was a club I worked in Fargo, North Dakota. And,
North Dakota's got some wild stuff.
Wild. There was 2 old ladies, and they were the oldest, and it was funny. But
wild. Were they cool?
They didn't talk to anyone. They had like regulars. They came in and they did their little dance. They didn't even do a dance. They just walked around. The one just walked around. The other one kind of did a dance. But
that's
the pole, and then went to their regulars, and barely ever seen them. But
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But,
so you heard through the grapevine about 11.
Yeah, grapevine, and I was like, you know what? We talked about it, like we heard about it. Me and him are at our ends in a relationship. But I knew, all right, let me try to figure out how I can get to 11. Because I'm like, ding, well, 11, never been there. I've been to every other club all around, going to Houston, going to Colorado, going to, where else did I go to? Jeez, all in that little area. Because you would always go back and forth from Vegas and Minnesota, back and forth.
And was that a common thing? Would a lot of strippers kind of migrate that way?
Actually, like traveling, yeah. So it is common for dancers to travel. Just because seasons are better in certain areas. But yeah, back and forth. And so found out about 11. I was like, you know what? He's really good at moving around.
Yeah.
So let me tell him, let's try it again. Let's try this again. And I love you, blah, blah, blah. Even though in the back of my head, I just knew like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
I don't love you, but I do need help moving to Miami. So I kind of tell him, let's get back together. So tell him I want to move to Miami, go to 11, whatever. But in the past, I was telling him I want him to change, get a job, start helping out, being a freaking man. So moved to Miami, working at 11. I mean, 11 was extremely tiring because it was like a nightclub, and this is probably like the 3rd year it opened. And this is where Miami at 11 is word of mouth. Like, this club is like popping. The best club I've ever worked at in my entire life and career in dancing. And
what made it the best?
Because it was an awesome nightclub, and it had crazy performances, and it had A-list celebrities and corporate people.
Wow.
Yeah, very important people that were there. Like everyone, like not regular people, but so that, and a lot of money, the most money I've ever made.
Wow. Who were some of the people that you saw there?
Let's see.
Or maybe who were some people that might have surprised you that you saw there? Like, were there any A-list or corporate people that you were like, damn, this person's here right now?
I don't know. I'm so bad at names.
Yeah.
The guy who's on Shark Tank, Mark.
Oh, Mark Cuban?
He was there once.
Really?
I've seen him a few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I mean, all like the hip hop celebrities would go there, like Lil Wayne, Drake.
Really?
G-Eazy.
Wow.
50 Cent, like, all the hip hop artists. Who else? The thing is, a lot of celebrities that wanted to come in and not be seen, they would come in from the back and go straight into like the whale rooms, and those are the VIP rooms that are
the whale rooms.
The whale rooms. Oh.
Why are they called the whale rooms?
It's the biggest rooms in the whole club. Yeah. But
like the biggest private rooms.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
The whale rooms.
The whale rooms. But yeah, so we moved there. We got a sublease for like 2 months. And I remember I met some girlfriends, really cool, really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember about a month in, he actually got a job at a strip club as a manager, or not a manager, sorry, like security guard. And I was like, oh no, he's getting a real job. Like, no, like this, he's actually going to be staying here. Like, I just wanted you to drop me off and like, bye, and break up again. But
man.
So I was contemplating to my girlfriends, like, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm worried. I'm new to Miami. I don't know, like anything, Jack from squat. So, one of the girls was like, you can stay with me. But like, leave him now. He's getting a job. Like, you have to do it now than never. You can't continue, And I was like, okay, it's true. Like, it's just really now or never. I'm over this. Like, this is what I came here for. So I, like, the next day, I like let him know, like, hey, like, I just can't do it. I'm over it. Like, it's not in love with you, whatever. Blew up, got angry. What the fuck? I'm just like, yep, I knew it was gonna happen. Okay. Crocodile tears.
Oh man.
Tear. Big ass tears.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then he left like the next day or so, I think. Yeah.
Left Miami.
Yeah, he left and packed up and he got the car and left, I think, the next day or the day after. Or like the next week or something. I think not the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But we just really didn't talk to each other that whole time. And it was really heartbreaking inside. It was. I remember when he walked out and left, and I was like, damn, like a lot of pressure, just a lot of, Yeah. So from there, I think I had about, I don't know how long I had left, but a week left or something of the lease. And then I was moving in with my one girlfriend that I met at the club at 11. Sweetheart, she lived in like North Bay Village area. Had her own condo, 1 bedroom, and then she had a plus den. So I just took her plus den and put my bed in there and all that stuff. And I was just like splitting half of the rent with her and whatever. But she like really introduced me, trained me just on how, like, she hustles and whatnot. So it was all cupcakes and sprinkles, living our best life. She even had like this sugar daddy who was like mad rich and letting her drive his car, and just like a nice ass Maybach Mercedes or whipping it and just getting all this money flying all over, not me, but she was. And I was just like, okay, that's how we do it. That's the standard. Okay, this is Miami, huh? So all while that was happening, I was saving up for some surgeries. I wanted some surgeries done from a plastic surgeon that I have met through my ex. That was one of his really good friends. So he specializes in boobs and he's fantastic. And so I wanted to get my boobs done and my nose done. And so I was saving up for that. Long and behold, this was around when the hurricane happened, right? And when the girl that I met, I was staying with, she had a friend that I met on the same day with her too. I met both of them. Actually, no, I met the friend first. And then the friend introduced me into the girl that I was staying with. Oh, nice. And then I'm like, oh, okay, what's up? Oh, okay, cool. We're all friends. We're just 3 musketeers, whatever. Making money, blah, blah, blah. The hurricane happened.
Which hurricane was this?
Hurricane.
Was it Ivan?
God, there's so many. I think it was like Anderson.
Was it Andrew?
Andrew? I think Andrew, something
I don't
like
think it
that.
was Anderson. I don't think there was a Hurricane Anderson recently.
No, I don't know.
What year was this?
I think
Like
it was
2018?
no, like 20, maybe 17 or 18 in between there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a bad one.
It was a bad one. It was like, get out while you can. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to Minnesota.
Mhm.
Just to even like get stuff or whatever. After the hurricane, I came back, and I guess she got into an argument with her. So they're not friends anymore. I'm still friends with them because I'm like, what? She's cool. She's met me. A lot of girls don't say anything to you when you're dancing. Like, no one's your friend. It's like fake.
Is
friends.
that because of the competition?
Yeah, it's competition. There's money involved. Like, it's strangers.
Dang.
You can't trust these snakes.
Cutthroat.
Cutthroat, yes. Very, very much so.
Yeah.
So got into it with her, and so she was very petty, and she didn't like I was friends with her, and I was just like, well, I don't want any beef. I'm cool with her. I'm cool with you. Like, I get that you don't like that, but I'm my own person, so I'm a grown woman. I'm not gonna stop being friends with someone because you're not friends with them. Like, I can coexist at work with both people and whatever. She didn't like that. Hurt her feelings, and it's funny because I've already booked my flights, and I don't know if I booked my hotels. I don't think I booked the hotels for my surgery because I already had everything saved up for it.
Wow. And that was going to be in Miami.
And that I was going to get my surgery done in LA.
Oh, in
Beverly
LA?
Hills. Yeah. Where I was living in Miami, dancing at 11.
Okay.
Saving up. Because that's where the surgeon is. Best surgeons in the world. Beverly Hills. Telling you.
And that was probably a pretty big chunk of change.
Yeah. I had a discount though. Because my
friend discount.
Yeah. Knew him. So that was a nice little discount. Really nice. Yeah, so she even wanted to come. She's like, oh my God, I'm gonna come with. Like, it's gonna be cool. I'm like, okay, cool, perfect. Let's all go. So fast forward, they get in an argument, whatever, not friends. Still friends with both of them. She's petty about it. She even had like wrote a note, talked to her parents, sat down, like, I am feeling my feelings, and I think that, like, it was so petty. And I'm like, girl, I'm not your bitch. And she was like, what? Like, can't talk to me that way. So she just flipped the whole script. Narcissistic. And she's like, and I didn't put any insurance on the flights or anything.
Oh, no.
Right. And she's already gave me the money. We already booked them and everything. So she's like, well, I don't trust you in the house. You can leave next month.
Oh, no.
You can leave in 30 days.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, huh? What? And I'm like, I'm about to get my surgery done in like less than 30 days. Like, what do you mean? You're about to, cause, huh? Yeah. So, that whole thing, and that was just drama. And now I'm like having to cancel these flights. Don't have insurance. So
Oh, no.
I'm getting half of it back.
Oh, no.
And I give her what I get back. Like, this is what's left. Like, there's no insurance on it. Like, she's like, oh, I need the whole everything that I paid. I'm like, honey, you know how much money I put down, and now I had to cancel everything because of you, because you want to act petty. Yeah, so that was cray. She was going crazy, trying to get her money back. I'm like, you ain't getting no money back out for me. Like, you're already evil and trying to kick me out for no reason because you being petty like you're 12, when we're in high school. So she's being petty, telling me to get out. That's why I told her, here's your money. She wasn't happy about that. And then she's like, oh, I can even kick you out tonight or next week or something, just trying to threaten me of I'll throw your stuff outside, da da da. And I'm like, listen, you must have never got your ass whooped before. You must have never met the wrong one, because what do you mean throw my stuff out? Like, and the thing was so frustrating too is that her apartment was not helpful at all, because I was not technically on the lease, but I did have mail sending there. And
Yeah.
like, but even me trying to get my mail, they wouldn't even like help me out, or they're like, no, she has to come down here. And so that was a whole shenanigans at the end too with that, and we'll get there. Yeah, threatening to throw my stuff out, and now I'm like, oh my god, I'm panicking, like, bro, I'm about to beat her up, but I can't beat her up because, you know, we're grown. We're gonna catch case. But it was like at that point, and so thank God, I'm like, you know, looking around, I'm thinking of like other girls that I know that I can move with, that has a spot for me, or that's comfortable, that's decently okay. Because even the chick that I met, the first chick I've ever met at 11, that's her friend, that's, you know, they're not friends anymore, she's kind of crazy, you know. Not really the ideal person I want to move with.
Yeah.
So I actually did meet another girlfriend, and she came in and she's like, yes, of course, girl, like, you can come in tomorrow, whatever, but you have to keep it low key because I'm renting out a room, and the landlord or whatever just thinks I'm here and I can only be here. I can't have another person, so I have to keep it on the low.
Yeah.
Like, still, thank you. Like, I appreciate it. So I had to, where did I put everything in storage? So I took all my valuables, and then I didn't go to work that night because she was threatening my son. I'm like, oh no, I can't. If I leave, I might not be able to get back in, and like,
Jeez.
I have all my stuff here, so I'm not going to work tonight. And that
Yeah.
was Saturday night, so that was like a lot of money, you know, it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
On the weekend. So I sat there, I just got packed everything, all my valuables, and the next morning I went over to my friend's house, got settled in there. From there I found a realtor, which she's still talk to her to this day. She's like my Miami mom. I love her to death. So sweet. She helped me out find a spot, because I'm like, I have like however long I have here until the lady figures it out. I was probably there for about 2 weeks until she figured it out. Didn't like calling in, because in Miami, all the condos are nice, you know, 24-hour security, so you can't really be walking in or walking out. I mean, some of them you can walk in and walk out, but some of them are like lockdown. Like, the condo I stayed at, you need your ID, write down. You won't be let up unless I answer the phone and say okay. It's a whole like and 24-hour security, like they don't play.
Dang.
So that's what the beauty thing about Miami, it's pretty safe.
Yeah.
So stayed with her that whole time, looking for a spot. My realtor helped out. Beautiful, awesome. Actually, let's rewind. We forgot a huge part.
Yeah, what's that?
Let's rewind to the point where I remember she went on her trip when I was living with the chick, that before we got into an argument and stuff like that. Just from breaking up with my boyfriend, and then I moved in with her into her little den or whatever. I found out that my mom went into the ICU and almost died.
Oh wow.
Right. Crazy. So all of that really weighed on me to where I basically had like a mental breakdown. And my best friend was actually flew in from Minnesota to hang out with me for that whole week. And I think she could sense that something was like wrong with me. You know, I'm just probably down more or whatever.
Yeah, you're all good. I mean, it's pretty heavy. It's a lot of transition, a lot going on in your life. And then on top of that, finding out about your mom.
Yeah, so it was tough. So I basically had a mental breakdown. After my best friend left, I won't even say, I don't know if it was in that day that she left or the next day. I think it was that day that she left, an hour or so. But I started to break down crying, and I definitely wanted to commit suicide. I definitely struggled with suicide just throughout my life in high school and stuff with that. So a mental breakdown, want to commit suicide. crying, but I wasn't crying crazy loud to where like someone heard me. And those condos only like had 3 or 2 like condos per floor, and it was a pretty good build. So it was like crazy. So I remember literally probably like 10 or 15 minutes later, someone's knocking on the door. And I open up the door and, I'm trying to like, calm myself down and put myself together. And it was 2 police officers, this white guy and this Spanish woman. And they came in. They're like, hey, we heard of some, I don't even remember what they even said. There's somebody got a call from somewhere, something. And I'm thinking, who called? I'm thinking maybe my best friend called. Like maybe she thought that I was going to do, because I had been suicidal before and down that road again. So I wouldn't be surprised if she did. But I don't think that I showed her enough that I was like going to do something versus other times that I have and I actually haven't went through with it. So I would be surprised that she would, because it'd be like, I wasn't like sobbing when she was there for her to call someone. So I personally think it was God who sent them, because I definitely wanted to end my life. I was definitely at that point where it was like, let's cut it. Let's do it. And, I think that people who commit suicide just want to be removed from a situation. Like you either think you're going to be in something forever. You just want to be in a different situation. So a lot of people who do kill themselves or who survive suicide always end up like, when I was doing it, I actually regretted it. So I do believe that God sent those police officers to stop me from doing what I was going to do. And proceeding, I was probably going to like try to cut my wrist or something crazy. I don't know, something at that time. But they came in and they're like, oh, just sit down and let's talk or whatever. And it was funny because I remembered the Latin woman, my last name is Ittner, and she had like Ittner as her badge name, but it had a G in front of it. I don't know. But I was like, it was random. But I don't know, it just stood out to me. Yeah. And the white guy, he was, so supportive. He just started just sharing his life about his family and how his sister was like a drug addict and like went through, and I'm like, are these therapist police or something? Like these are the best, awesome police officers I've ever met in my life. And really just supportive and transparent and real and caring and loving. And I just knew like, I need some help. I need some help. So they're like, okay, let's just come with us. We'll find the best spot for you to go to. Basically a psych ward, crazy house. And so I was like, I don't even know what I bring. I didn't bring much, just probably my phone and solder and some stuff, not too much. Got in the car with them, and then because it was just kind of a blur, just more of a process. I don't know. And then I end up at the spot, and it's like a little hospital facility treatment center vibes. And from what I heard, that like psych wards can be like, I've heard they can be mixed, the movies too. It's like crazy people. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm in for a roller coaster. I get there, it's pretty empty. And I seen that there was like a male side. I'm thinking they didn't tell me if it was going to be mixed or female or or separated, but I see the male side first, so I'm thinking like, oh snap, like it's gonna be mixed. And then we just had to walk through the male side to get to the female side or whatever. And then I was there and it was completely empty, and they strip all your stuff from you, your clothes, everything, whatever, anything hairbands, everything, anything and everything. You get in like their little suits that they have and you're off.
Wow.
And when I went in there, there was no one there. It was completely empty, and it was already about nighttime at that time, because when they came and got me, it was daytime, probably midday, like probably 2 p.m. or something. And about that time, when I was kind of settled in and got the clothes on, it was probably like 8. So like dinner time. And so I had dinner, and I remember I just went to the lunchroom, and I seen this lady in a wheelchair with one leg, this white lady, blonde hair, very scraggly. You could tell that she's been through it.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down, and I'm just like, okay, like, I don't know if these people are gonna hate me, like me, like, I don't know. I'm just trying to eat this lunch and like get through this, because when I got there, when you're emotional, you're like, okay, yeah, I need help, yeah, like bring me there, help me. But then when you get there and they start like asking you questions, like, are you suicide? Do you want it? You're like, yeah, you think that like you're just gonna go to therapy. And you think that you're just gonna, talk to a therapist or a psychiatrist and give you some pills or whatever. No, if you say that you're suicidal and a harm to yourself or others, they can by law put you away for 72 hours. And that's exactly what they did. So that, like, I freaked out. So there's a really big moment of me freaking out and having then to like, okay, I have 72 hours, I have to be, and I'll just push through. So then so forth, went to lunch, and I remember seeing her in the wheelchair, and I'm just like, let me just eat my food. And I don't remember who started the conversation. But I think that I don't know what if she said something or whatever, but I remember she was just kind of running down her life, and that she's been all around homeless for 20 years, grew up in like a trailer. Her dad molested all her brothers and sisters.
Jeez.
Beat on them. When she was 13, her leg just cramped up and just had to amputate it and cut it off. Because I was thinking that she got in like an accident or something, but no, just got. And I'm like, what? Just curled up and just died on its own. So,
jeez.
Yeah. So she went through the ringer, right? And homeless, and still, basically back and forth and homeless. Like, she goes to the psych ward more for comfort and just to get away from the streets.
Yeah.
More so. But all in her story that was very morbid and just crazy. I'm just like, woo, I couldn't. I fall out. She said, well, through all that, she's like, well, as long as you have Jesus, that's all that matters. Like, that's all that, got me through. That's like, and and that's all she said. And then that was it. And then I think that she was like done eating our lunch, and I was like, oh, okay. But it really stood out to me, because I'm just like, damn, of all the turmoil, of all the things that you could be blaming on God, on this, I mean, just put you through the ringer. Like, I could not imagine. And you could still give glory to God, and his ways and everything. And I'm just like, okay, interesting. So then lunch is over, dinner's over with, and it's almost time to kind of like, go to bed. They have kind of, bedtime hours or just a schedule. And I remember there was one other lady, and she was a taller, bigger woman, probably like tall, like 6'3". Yeah, she's a big woman. Very sweet to me, very sweet, but the workers, angry. She would be like a switch. Oh, hi, oh my God, yeah, what is your name? Okay, yeah, if you want to, but anything. But then to the workers, oh my God, like fucking hate, like crazy. And I'm like, oh my Lord, this is I want to make her mad. But I remember when I got settled in, I was in my room and stuff, and you kind of just had time to wander around. I was just wandering around checking it out, and I remember I guess shortly after I met her, she asked me if I wanted a Bible or anything, because she every time I would see her, she would always have books in her hand. She would always have her Bible and then some extra books, right? Even though she was crazy, right? And since I met her, and I remember she asked me if I wanted one. I'm like, no, it's fine. I got magazines in my room and stuff. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Again, fast forward later until almost time to close shop and go to bed. And I remember some nurse came up and she's like, did someone ask for a Bible? Did someone ask for, and like she came up and I looked at her. She's like, yeah, did you? And I'm like, oh no, I didn't ask for one. And she's like just shoved in my hand. She's like, oh, okay, well, here you go. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is it. Thank you. Like, I'm not gonna read it, but I guess. And remember, we have TVs in our rooms, and you're assigned to rooms. And it's in my room, and but my TV did not work, unfortunately. So I was like, dang, can't just watch TV all day. Get these 3 days.
Yeah.
And the magazines were trash. I don't even I didn't have any type of interest in them and reading them or anything. Mm-hmm. But I just remember casually looking at the Bible, and then this like book that wasn't the Bible but just inspired through or by the Bible, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I remember I read on the back, and I can't remember exactly what it said word for word. But it was just saying that, like, reinsurance, that God loves you and that you're not alone. I don't know exactly what it said, but all I remember is thinking, all right, God, like, I can't do this. Like, if you're real, if you're here, please, like, you know, like, I just at my ends where you're just like, you know, like, I have nothing more. And in there, I believe I felt his presence in a warm feeling physically in my heart, and I could hear God speaking, saying, don't give up, keep going, you got this, like cheering for me to keep going and keep at it. And he, you know, he's always been there. And I just felt that love was so overwhelming, and just like crying and just like, yes, God, Jesus, you know, you're it. And that's what I've remember, just, you know, giving my life over, like, all right, like, let's do it. So from there, I was just like a new day. I was just happy. And because in the beginning I was so worried about my life outside, you know. I was like, oh, I got bills, and I got a life, I got a house and a condo, people. And after that, I was just reborn, you know, refreshed, hopeful, alive. And I was like, I can stay here all day, you know, whatever. And then the days went by so quick. And I was even talking to the lady who had the Bible, and just not really remember exactly what I was talking to her about, but just really, you know, inspired me. Like, thank you for giving, you know, for just having God work through you, you know. And it's God works through people, for sure, no matter who it is. It could be a homeless person, could be a crackhead, could be, you know, everywhere. Yeah. So after that, it's my release, and I remember just going back home, and I remember looking outside the window and just seeing everything differently, like spiritually. like as if I was literally reborn, and I have these glasses where now I could see the spiritual world. And what I mean by that, like as crazy as it sounds, like I remember looking at cars and even just seeing the emblems of cars and just knowing that like God talking, saying like in a way of just knowing like these symbols are very powerful. Like even though it might be a Honda sign or what, like it just means so much more, even though it's just a car. But like I just understood things. I don't know, you know, like, and it brings me to like, maybe I'm just going off the edge here, but like, you know, and I say that to say like the Gucci and the Chanel logo, like it's a symbol, you know, it's I mean, especially Gucci is demonic, you know, it's made by pedophiles. But yeah, so I could see I guess I would say the spiritual world, you know, got the glasses on now, I can see things for what they are, and yeah, and so forth. And I went back to my life, and I was just so happy about Jesus and God, and just wanted to tell everyone, excited just about my interaction and my experience, and just wanted to share it to, you know, whatever. And I wanted to really get into church. And like, just crazy, like immediately, I found a group, first of all, the girl, okay, we didn't even go back to there.
Had you been to church before in your life?
I have, growing up, very little though. I went to church for like, oh, it's Easter, you know. More so like my mom's friend is inviting her to church or something. We're going. I remember like church for kids, we would go in this like a separate room or whatever.
Yeah.
But never had like church bashed in me. I remember like my mom always, like a little story. I remember my mom, I was asking my mom, I'm like, Mom, who do you love the most? Because, you know, I'm the baby, so, you know, baby gets all the love, right? Favorite, quote unquote. And I'm like, who do you love the most, right, Mom? And I'm thinking, gonna hear me. And she's like, Jesus. And I'm like, wait.
Oh, snap.
Hold on. Jesus. It's supposed to be me.
Yeah.
So that really struck me and stuck with me, of like, who's this man named Jesus that my mother loved so much more than me, and above all things, and she really, you know, held that name in a high name. And I just remember too, throughout life of growing up, when hard times would come, when I see my mom stressed out about bills, whatever, blah blah blah, because she was a single mom on her own, raising 3 kids. I would remember she'd always say, keep in Jesus, keep faith in God, in Jesus, you know. So it wasn't no religious thing, it was more a relationship. And I would always see it would turn out like, I'd be like, okay, oh God, they pull through. Like, yeah, we might not be eating the fanciest food and ramen noodles and hot dogs, whatever. Yeah. But I would see it as an example. So she definitely lived it out, even though it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to church every day. It was just definitely, I could see see that. So yeah.
So you had a little bit of a taste as a kid.
I did, yeah. Yeah, as a kid. So
fast forward, Miami.
That too. And to say that in high school for history, we did have to like explore other religions. So I did get like a little insight on other religions and just how they function and stuff like that. So I still stuck with Christianity, of course, because it was just more so, you know, that's what your family is into. So that's just what you kind of do until I got older and more of the world, doing my own thing, living wild. I would do yoga, you know, I would even still be like, oh, horoscopes are cool. And I would, what else? I mean, all over the place. Like I just would be, you know, I not really practice other religions, but completely open to doing any practices of what that may be. So I was very aware of other religions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that Christianity is pretty cool. It's pretty,
It sounds
cool.
like
So,
that period of time though that you had those 72 hours, like that was where things really switched. Something changed. So coming out of that experience, how much longer did you continue to work as a stripper for? And what was that transition like?
Yeah, so that it's funny because it's like once you get saved, you don't just become like this holy like nun, you know. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh well, you're saved, so like why are you cussing, or like why are you doing this? It's like, well, because I'm human, like this is why I need Jesus. Like yeah, so I was super excited when I jumped back into dancing. I definitely felt guilty but excited, but just not really not even guilty. I was just living my life, and I'm saying I'm happy, I love Jesus, and I'm working, you know. And I remember I met some good group of girlfriends, and she introduced me into VOUS. And that was my first church, really. VOUS church.
How do you spell VOUS?
VOUS. It's it's short for rendezvous.
Okay.
Gathering together.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Christian non-denomination, and it was fantastic. And I think that when I started going there with my friend, it's like their third year. And it was perfect timing, exactly what I needed. And I really just started hounding in, just going, just really just getting in the community, getting close, knowing them, feeling them.
Yeah.
Being a follower.
Did you feel any kind of stigma or judgment from people that you were interacting with?
You know what's crazy? What I do love about VOUS, and why I think that VOUS is such a unique church, is one reason because it is in Miami, and everyone in Miami, it's like either you're a stripper or a promoter, you know, like everyone's in the night lifestyle. No one's new to it. You know, so everyone in VOUS wasn't like, oh my God, you're a stripper, like let's pray for you, oh Lord, like, you know, demonic. Like, no, they're like, oh yeah, cool, that's fine. Like you know, I was very accepted, which even other churches that I've went to when I was a dancer, and like, you know, was open about it, I definitely got some like, oh, okay, like the normal response you would expect from your, what would you call it, your cookie cutter Christians. Yeah, so they were very accepting, very loving, very understanding, such a blessing, loved it. But it was a journey because I was still so young, still partying, and it's like onions. Like, you don't change overnight. You have to realize the things that you can and can't do. And I was still so still so wanting to, you know, not really knowing. Yeah, just not knowing, just not really knowing until evidence, I guess. Hold on, let me don't think what I'm trying to say.
I mean, it sounds like it was a process.
Yes.
It didn't just happen overnight. It was something that took time to, I guess maybe you could say, grow into.
Yeah, for you to really notice what is right and what is wrong. Like, for you to really take, like, okay, yeah, that is not right. Like, nah, like I do gotta start repenting, acting right, you know, and checking myself. And then you really realize when you have a relationship versus religion, which Jesus never liked religion. No, he comes to follow him and have a relationship with him and God. as a human. And it's a process, and it's like an onion. You have to peel the layers to get to the center, and to really pull back, and to get to the center it might take your whole life. You might never get to the center. We'll never be perfect. We'll always be a working piece with God, but that's life. That's it. So from there, it just took over time to really understand this is not what I want. Of course you say, no one wants a dance. I would rather be like a CEO of a millionaire, blah blah blah, but like this is my options. I'm making money, I'm young, I'm hot, Miami, like you're convincing yourself or whatever you think that this is the life. Everyone's telling you this is happiness, like you have all the money, you have all this, you have people, at your fingertips, whatever.
And what was that money like, especially in Miami?
Good. Very good.
What was like an amazing night like?
Like $5,000.
$5,000.
Yes. Yeah, $5,000 a night you can make. I remember one time I met this guy. He's a He's addicted to gambling, but I met him. White guy, tall, weird, little lazy eye. But super cool. Anyways, he was like, I'm in love with you, and I want you to marry me, all this stuff. It'd be crazy. Like, and he high-key like wanted to marry me, and I was like, okay, cool, run me your money or whatever, sure. And I remember I got his number, and I remember he just asked me, how much you want? And I'm just like, $500. I don't know. Like, no one really tells me how much do you want. It's usually like, you got to be like, run me this. Like, let me see them pockets. So long story short, gave me the money, got his number. He wanted to hang out on Sunday and just to party and just hang out. And I'm like, okay, I'll just party, hang out, and go to Live Sunday, blah, 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 blah. Went out with him, went to the club. I remember we were partying, had a suction, and I remember I was on his back, and I think I put too much weight, and he didn't have no balance, so he lost balance and smashed his head in the table and started bleeding, gushing blood everywhere, right? God. And I'm like under the influence, and I'm like, oh my God, what? But you know what's funny? God, I'd be missing parts, missing good parts. Okay, so he picked me up and he's like a redneck though. Like in Miami, that's like, you look like you're more in like Texas, you mean Texas, but where was he from? I think he was from LA. He owned farms, weed farms, a whole bunch of dispensaries, money in the bank, right?
Jeez.
So he picked me up in like this huge 4x4 truck, whatever. And I remember when we pulled up to Live, he opened his little compartment, and he had like $100,000 in cash. I've never seen that much money in my life in cash, like real cash. Maybe like fake money, but real money. And I remember he gave me, what was it? It was like $30,000. He said, no. He gave me $30,000 to put in my purse, and then he left like the rest in the thing. And he's like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why did you just give me this much money? And he's like, oh, just hold on to this, right? But he put the rest onto it. The thing is, he put the rest in the little compartment. I'm like, you're valeting in this car. Little Pablo just gotta pop that thing open and see. Bye. I'm not working there no more if I see that much, bro. Oh my goodness. Deuces. You can have the car, but yeah. So, and it was funny. So we're walking into Live, and I'm just like, but the funny thing is, he was this big old guy, and like, he would always roll with his cousin, and he would love to fight. He was just rowdy. Like, he would want to just start some crazy stuff and just like, yeah, because he has so much money, and he was like a boxer, and his cousin, they looked like they were Russian, but rednecks. It was a lot.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, I'm here for the money. So we get to Live, that whole thing happens, busts his nose. And it's funny because when we're going through security, the security guy looked in my bag. He was like, whoa. And I'm like, I know, right? Like, Don't mess with me though. Don't think of anything. They'll beat you up.
Oh my God.
So yeah, fast forward in the club, busts his nose, bleeding. And then we gotta go. Like, we gotta go to the hospital because he's like bleeding. Like, this is like gushing. And so I'm still like, yeah, whatever, we're rich. I'm not rich, he is. So we go to the ER and he's like, no, he's getting this Uber. He has to go to the hospital. And he's like, no, you don't have to come. You have to come. And I'm like, no, it's like, of course, I want to come and supporting. So I go there and go to the urgent care. He gets some stitches. We're there. I'm in like, and I remember I had white on. I had like white pants on. Remember, I had to like throw him away because he had like his blood on them, and I'm just like,
oh man.
Whatever. But supported him through that, and then I remember he dropped me off at my place, and I'm like, oh, thank you, like blah blah blah, and he was like, okay, thanks, and like I gave him all the money. I took the money out and gave it to him. And he took the 20, and then gave me the 10. Okay, so long story short, but I wasn't working at the club. I went out with him one night and he gave me 10 because he was embarrassed. That was one of the biggest parts. He was very embarrassed.
Wow.
Yeah, but
it's a good thing you went to the hospital with him.
Yeah, I know that, and I felt like I had to like prove my loyalty. Like, yeah, I'm here for a rah-da-da, quote, quote. Not.
That just sounds like such a Miami story.
Miami, exhausting.
Wild.
Yeah, a lot of those.
So what in terms of timeline? What are we talking here in terms of? So
I'd say 4 years until I actually really started like living for Christ. I'd say in 2020. So I would say that like I gave my life during that crisis, and that was probably around 2017, very early on when I moved into Miami, with the chick and stuff. So yeah, but it took about COVID. It's funny because I remember before COVID hit, I made like $3,000 that night or something, or $4,000, and I was making good money. And I remember that night I just broke down in my room and was like bawling my eyes out, like I can't do this anymore. I can't continue. I don't care how much money. It doesn't matter how much money I make. I will continue to come back to this if this is my source. Like, I'm like, all right, God, I'm going 100 miles per hour. This is my life. I don't know how to live for you whole. Like, I don't know. Yeah. You know, like the world has to stop. Like, I'm going 100 miles per hour, right? And I'm going to be whole.
What was the thing that felt so hard about it? Like, was it guilt? Was it shame? Was it just like it just didn't feel like the right thing? What was actually
it's what you have to do in the club. You're dancing with the devil, you know, taking your clothes off, having to put this mask on and smile and talk to these men that you want. Don't care if they fall off the earth tomorrow or not, you know, like, but you have to act entertained. You have to give your body, which is supposed to be protected and covered, and you're completely doing opposite, you know. And yeah, you're opening doors, demonic spears, everything, like, and it can be good at times because the money can be good, and good meaning like, oh yeah, partying can be fun, but there's only so much partying until partying's not fun no more. Yeah. And now it's like, all right, this is a for real job. I'm actually caught up in this because every dancer's like, oh, I'm just gonna dance for like a year, maybe two. A year or two later, they're still in it because it actually it takes about just minimum a year just for you to get in your training wheels off and really start making money, and then you really start getting a taste. It's a trap, you know. It's the female trap. Like for males, let's say it's like drug dealing, and for females it's like, you know, dancing and say in the club is a lot of beautiful broken women, and but very demonic. I would never wish it upon my worst enemy, because it's not something that is good for the soul.
How do you think that experience shaped your view of men?
Oof. Very twisted, perverted. When you are a dancer, you kind of have to mold your mind into peeping what's money, what spends money, and that's more of the older white men. So after time, and those are the sugar daddies, and those are the regulars and stuff like that, and this becomes your life. Like, this is your normal stuff, Texan old men or whatever. So you actually become attracted to that, because that is money. That's what you affiliate with money. That's getting taken care of. That's not having to pay your rent and getting it paid for you or whatever. And that's a whole thing in itself. And I can never really ever hold down any sugar daddies, because I would never sleep with them at the end. They try to lure you in, but at the end of the day, they want, some. And I'm just like, I'm good. I can't do that. I got enough trauma in my life I'm recovering from. So, and that's just a whole other thing too. I think that, you can't dance and not have some type of trauma or even sexual trauma, because it's the sex industry. Because I've even heard, women that I've told I was a dancer, and they're like, oh, I wish I could dance. I never could. I never had the confidence, or I just never could do it. Or I've tried it out, and I couldn't, and bawled my eyes out or whatever. And it's just like, well, some women, purity wasn't taken away when they were a child, so they didn't have that experience. And every woman that I've talked to in the dancing industry, that was honest, has been, molested or raped in some form or way, or some type of perversion happened to them for them to get to that place. And that's what has to happen for you to do that, because that's so extreme for someone to take off their clothes for random people on stage. Like, that's not just some like a ride in the park. It's a lot. Internally, you have to think that that's your value. You have to be okay, because if you valued yourself at a higher level, you wouldn't be doing that, whether for the money or not. They're like, oh, it's just for the money. It's like, yeah, well, a lot of people would do it for the money, but they can't, because that hasn't been taken away from them.
Wow. Did you know other dancers who became Christians?
Yeah. So when I've met some Christians, their belief was Christian anyways. When I was in the club, it was funny, because the whole 4 years before, I dropped on my knees, and I was like, God, I can't running 100 miles per hour. And funny, so COVID happened after that, literally days later. But oh my God, I got sidetracked. What did you just say?
other dancers, other girls who became Christians.
Yeah. So I actually introduced a few girls into Christianity and dancing, which was amazing, and I think such a privilege, because it is such a dark place that a lot of people are lost. And so I like to bring the horse to water. Never can't force the horse to drink, but can lead him to the water if they like.
Yeah.
So that was nice, but I definitely had some conflict with having conversations with even customers and people, because I would be completely open about my belief and stuff like that if we were ever on the topic. And I hear a lot of criticism, like, oh, how can you be a stripper and be a Christian, da 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 da. And I'm just like, well, I'm on my journey. Listen, I got bills to pay right now. I don't have any other option that I know of, or any opportunity that has presented to me. And even if an opportunity probably presented to me at that time, I probably couldn't even hold it, you know, because of coming from all that. It takes time for you to become back to a regular girl, you know, because it's such a brainwashing, demonic world that if you're in for so many years, you can't really get out your brain. I mean, I couldn't even, if like random guys would try to come up and just talk to me and just be friends, I would just look at them like, what the money at? Like, run the pockets. How much are you worth? 10 million, 5 million? Like, how much you make in a year? You gotta make 100 million a year. No, seriously.
Wow.
High expectations, crazy. Like, because that was the level of clientele that I was meeting. Like, how much money? That was normal. And that's another thing too. It's like I've met some guys that I got more into with it, more of like friends with benefits, and got to the point where I'm like, you can literally help me. Like, you have a company where I could manage, I could do something. Like, you could change my life in 2 seconds just with the power and the money that you have. But and that's when I really realized of like, this lifestyle, I'm gonna always have the issue when it comes to relationship, always trying to prove myself to men that I'm not some hoe or some prostitute, and you know, and these men just looked at you as a sex toy and a piece of meat, and they want you where they want you, and they don't want to help you level up because you might think that you're better than, and then you don't need them no more or whatever, you know. And I peeped that because it was like, why would you not just help me out? You know? And no, because they want you as a little, you know, play toy or whatever. But they would never bring you back to mama, you know? And yeah. So that was really tough, of like knowing like, wow, you're not really looked at as valued as like a wife, you know, just something fun and hot to look at and whatever. And I noticed that in like when you're in the industry, when you ask women about dancing or whatever, they tend to glamorize it. And because if that's all you know, and deep down you're like hopeless, because it's demonic, it's a horrible job. Like, no matter how much money you're making, you're degrading yourself. Like, let's be honest, you are. It's gonna hurt your soul. No amount of Chanel bags or anything, and there's gotta be a time where you have to like make that decision. Are you gonna go all in? And some women go all in and don't come out on the end. And it is really dangerous, very addicting. Yeah.
Because of the money.
Because of the money, yeah. And not even just the money, and just the power, the manipulation that you have too, of just knowing that I can manipulate, even though it might be just sexually, but the fact that I know I can like have the power to text some corporate man and have him all over my all over me, just sit, you know, bar, whatever. And that was power in itself too. That you get that arouse from.
You use the word demonic a lot to describe that environment. What does that mean? What does that feel like? What does that look like?
Demonic evil spirits in just the room. The devil himself plotting to kill, steal, and destroy in any form or way. And that's his playground, you know. It's where, you know, the freaks come out at night, and it's a spiritual realm. Like, you know, it's funny how people think that, like, you know, Christianity or being a follower of Jesus is not spiritual, just religious, but it really is. People have been doing it wrong, I think. It's very spiritual. not just flesh and blood. It's higher principalities. And because I was saved and I did put those like glasses on, I could see the spears. I could see how someone was gone, like turned away from God. Because, God gives you an option. And some people would just turn away and they are in their own world and in the dark. And physically, those are the dark places that they go to. And it was just very empty, very soulless. There's no love. There's no comfort. It's just straight drugs, sex, and money. Empty. Everyone's empty. Everyone's lost. Everyone thinks that, we're all happy and drugs, woo. Sure. Okay. Not. Yeah. And to get through all that, you have to numb. So drugs, alcohol, and that's just a spiral, especially in Miami. They got all the stuff. So yeah, it's crazy out there.
What about the opposite? Are there spaces that you have been in that feel, I guess the opposite of demonic would be angelic, perhaps? I don't know. Have you been in spaces where it, like the opposite of that hopeless, soulless, like
no.
You haven't felt that?
Nope. Every time it's ever been affiliated with money or dancing or some type of transaction, my time for money or what? No, it's always been.
Well, not specifically in a club, but just like in life in general. Like, have you been in places where you felt?
Yes, of course.
Like what? And what is that? What are those places? What is that like?
Church. The beach with family. With friends. But I would even say though, I wasn't even so happy because even when like I listened to music that was like bumping back then when I like was in Miami, it brings back memory and feelings that I was feeling. And it's funny because it's like it wasn't really until like 2020, even like 2021 till I really started like I guess like living for God and really getting change, really peeling off those layers of who I once was in my past life, basically. Because it's a lot. I mean, it's again, like I said, like people think that, oh, you're saved now, so you should just be, walking like a nun. And it's like, no, I have over years, a decade or however much of horrible habits. You're not going to just flip the script in a day, in a year. Like, mind your business, however long it takes for me to get right. And I am right. Once you're saved, like it's then your journey to then, read the Bible, be obedient, know Him. And
what was the first job that you had after working as a stripper?
Okay, so how I got out of that. Okay, yeah. So COVID happened, right? I was like, God, stop the world.
The great reset button.
Right, boop. And it reset the world literally because COVID happened and it shut down. I'm like, it's probably the greatest thing that could ever happen to me. So I had a lot of money saved up, so I was living life, but definitely blew it all. Just over COVID and just that whole thing and moving. So COVID happened. Living my best life, the whole, what was it?
Did it shut down the club?
Yeah.
Wow.
The whole world, everything shut down.
Wow.
Right. I thought I was like, oh snap, like I have to go to work tonight and tomorrow, then they'll probably shut down. Nope. That day, I think it was like March 13th, they made the announcement.
Wow.
Everything was shut down. And Yeah. So, what was happening? The Black Lives Matter thing, that was a whole shebang for a minute. I even was like walking on the bridge in front of police, doing the whole thing.
Did you go to, were you in Minneapolis?
So no, I was in Miami, but it was still happening like in every state where, we're walking on the bridges and stuff like that. So
but you had grown up in
Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, yeah, born and raised all the way until 18 and then went on the so yeah. Where was I? Sorry, I lost track. I thought
COVID happens. The club shuts down. You got a chunk of money to
survive.
You're chilling for a second.
And that was about 3 months. And 3 months because my lease was gonna end. And that was crazy because I couldn't pay it. I was gonna pay it. So that turned into debt. After a time, it was just ass. It really sucked. But I went back to Minnesota and I was staying with my mom. It was summertime, so it was all fun. And
I was 2020 though.
No. Yes, 2020. Yeah, okay. The world was still like shut down and like.
So you were in Minnesota.
Yes, so I was during 2020 shut down March. Yep. I like had 3 months left of my lease. Played that out, moved back. Oh, it was so stressful selling all my stuff. I like probably sold like $4,000 worth of stuff for like $500 because I was just trying to get it out and leave because that was a whole thing. So I was paying. I put it in storage and blah blah blah. Yeah. But moved to Minnesota, stayed there for 3 months, moved to Minnesota for the summer, and that was about like 3 months when I was just doing DoorDash and stuff and just trying to make my money. And
so that was the first job then? DoorDash.
Yeah, DoorDash.
Wow.
Yeah, during COVID.
Wow, 2020. Crazy. Wow.
DoorDash. It was fun.
How weird was that though to go from making $5,000? It
was fun. It was refreshing. It was like a whole new world. It was beautiful. I was ready. It's like, yes, the world. Thank God. I asked you. I need to stop. The world needs to stop.
Were you just happy to do something different? Is that kind of? It didn't even matter what it was. It was just happy to do something different.
Happy to do something and just get away, be bliss.
Yeah.
Finally, not have to worry about going back to that place, at least for right now. Because that was the most daunting thing. The hardest part that I feel like every dancer can agree to is that the worst part, no matter how long or how many years you've been dancing, is getting ready to go to work. I remember even like my friend, I'd get so much anxiety.
Really?
Like extreme anxiety. I remember my girlfriend and we're not doing anything different. We're going to the same club, same things. Saturday,
Yeah.
And I remember my friend, she even like threw up one time. Like on the way to work because it's so much anxiety because it's just that bad of just the atmosphere, the aura, it's just people have died in that club
at 11.
Yeah,
dancers.
It's not funny.
Or just people.
Just people died. Dancers. I'm not sure. But I know I wouldn't be surprised. Why people die? Like why? I OD'd.
OD'd.
I think one chick, which is crazy. I think one chick. I think she died at the hospital. Don't quote me on this. But in the grapevine, we heard that like some chick was below because there's 2 levels. And on the second level, some guy had like a bottle and he dropped it and it dropped on her head. And she like got knocked out.
That's crazy.
And the craziest thing is I remember them carrying a body out.
Jeez.
Like.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Ooh. Okay, so like, come on. Like, you already know there's, some crazy ghosts in the building. In there.
Jeez. Yeah, that's
so it's
wild.
It's a wild place. It's not. And then everyone's perverted. Perverted. And And then you become perverted too.
Hmm.
You know, it rubs off on you. You become normalized. You become, you know, it took so long for me to even, I mean, so even now I love to wear like sexy clothes, I guess, but I'm still trying to like, you know, modernize it up for myself, not saying like, oh, for a Christian, you have to be this. No, again, you're on your own journey. Whatever God's talking to you about, that's what you focus on. Because some people are like, oh, well, your dress is too short to be in church, and da 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 da. And it's like, well, maybe that's not her issue that she's focused on right now. Maybe God's trying to show something else in her life. So mind your business. Just worry about yourself. So, but yeah, very demonic. Not cool.
Yeah. So you're door dashing. COVID.
Yeah,
a whole new world.
So how I got to LA and my second job was I wanted some fillers, right? And I knew I got, you know, plastic surgery from my surgeon.
You wanted fillers?
Fillers or lip fillers.
Lip fillers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So going back from the Asian chick to my one friend who housed me, the landlord found out. My realtor found me a spot. That was a whole nother thing. Trying to get my stuff back from the crazy chick who kicked me out. That was a whole thing.
Oh, man.
Finally got it back. And it's funny because, like, you know, what goes around comes around. And she was very evil to me. So, and it definitely came right back at her.
Dang.
But I eventually got my stuff back. And so forth. Yeah, just to clear that up of how I got to my new spot in Miami. Just clear that up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you're wanting to get those lip fillers.
Lip fillers. Yeah, you're gonna have to keep me on.
Crucial part of the story here.
Lip fillers, right? I've never had them done before, so I'm like, might as well go to someone who I trust instead of some just random person sticking a needle in my lip. Because
hence, you got to come back to Beverly Hills.
Have to, right? And it's funny because I hated LA. Oh, I despised LA. I've been a few times when I was in Miami. I was like, LA's ghetto, it's dirty. You know, compared to Miami, it is really...
It's dirty. It's totally dirty. Fuck. Miami's clean.
Miami's so clean.
It's clean. It's nice. It does feel safe.
It's safe.
It's also just feels chill.
It is chill. It's crazy, but like... It's chill in the way of like it's paradise. You can still at the pool, but it is still crazy in a way because everyone's still on that like vacation party vibes.
Yeah.
You know, no one's really like, oh, I gotta go to work. It's like, right? What's that?
Yeah.
Party for work. So lip fillers. And I'm like, hey, let me schedule an appointment out there. I had extra money from stacking up from DoorDash. And not paying no rent, get the free money too and stuff like that. That was nice. So let me go over there, fly, and my one of my good friends from high school lived out in LA. I was just like, let me just stay with you for like a couple of days. Went out there, got my lips done. It's cool, fantastic, painful.
Yeah,
I liked it. It was fun. Enjoyed some food in LA and then went back. And then shortly after, my surgeon called me and he was like, hey, I have a job opportunity. You could be work for me and be a surgical coordinator. And I'm like, say less, you know. I would love to. And this is, you know, it was something that I've been praying for of like, I'm doing DoorDash, but it was at the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like it's wear and tear on my car, back, mentally, like it's getting more popular. People are catching on. Like it's just, it was really getting out to my point where I'm like, I cannot do this anymore. So job opportunity popped up and went out there. Actually, let me slow down. Accepted the job opportunity. Then I called my friend who lived in LA Said, hey, I have a job opportunity. Want to move out there, change my life. Woo, woo, woo. He's like, okay, say less. Let me look around for people, roommate, whatever. Soon after, called back, told me that he has, the 3 other people that are looking for a spot, and he asked them if the 4th person can hop on. They said, cool. Got me their contact information, made group chats, talked, FaceTimes, bonded. Super cool. And then it was 2 guys, 2 girls, including me. Other girl, she had a dog, which was cool. Big old dog, but take care of the dog, it's okay, right? So just praying, putting in God's hand. If it's meant to be, let it be. We applied to a lot of spots, got denied for a lot of spots because of the dog. Until she made it a support dog, then so forth. So yeah, then we got approved in the spot, woo woo woo, and moved to LA. I was a social coordinator for him. It was fantastic for a little bit. It was fantastic, but then really hard because adjusting to being your own boss and telling people off and being in that world, going to a 9 to 5 where you have to, I say, you be on time, be appropriate, and obey what they say. The directions. And I get very easily frustrated if I don't know or I don't figure something out right away, and I just usually tend to just give up and run away. But in this, you can't do that, so it was very challenging. And he was narcissistic, racist Jew.
Oh jeez.
But very dictating. Would even try to belittle me once, but I knew he kind of knew not to play with me like that, because but the other girl that he hired was younger, and he kind of manipulated her as to he would have this whole schedule set out of, he would want you to tell him. He would have this made up format that he had, that you would tell him how much time he has till his next appointment and how much time that he already wasted or already taken up or something like that. And it was just this whole system that you really had to learn to his critique, and it was a perfect place for him to skull you and just be a dictator and just stress you out over the littlest things, right? I mean, the smallest things. I remember if the computer wasn't turned off correctly, it would be a whole thing, something that really didn't affect anything, or the stickers ran out, a whole thing. You get scalded, and it's just it felt like I was walking on eggshells. And it's I come from a job of already stress and anxiety, then going to another job that's not paying half as much, not even. And I'm dealing with stress and anxiety and on eggshells. I can, only do it so much. It was so peaceful though in itself, though, to know that I can just clock in, clock out, and I know that all my bills are going to get paid every single month. I don't have to worry if it's going to come this way, if I'm going to make this much money this night, or da-da-da-da. I don't have to take off my clothes. I don't have to degrade myself. I don't have to talk to them. I don't have to convince anyone. I don't have to stay up all night and do drugs. I don't have to be with people who don't value me. That was very peaceful of knowing. And I mean, even to this day, being on my own in LA, it's still the struggle, inflation and car bills, blah, blah. So it's and being an entrepreneur of a model actress, and it's still that hustle. So it's still stressful, but having that 9 to 5 was awesome. But on the other hand of having a 9 to 5, it's not fun. That's trash. Well, it's not for me. It's not for me. I mean, I could do it, but it would have to be a very flexible 9 to 5 remote and super cool boss and stuff like that. But that's very rare to come across. And then usually those jobs are like corporate and like degree and whatever and earning way up, and that's what happened. So long story short, I worked there for 3 months because the last third month I blew up on the HR lady because when I got anger issues, and I blew up because I was holding everything in of just the little micromanaging. I've never experienced micromanaging like that before. And especially with my anger issues, it was, holding my tongue and very uncomfortable, eggshells, whatever. And I remember the last straw for me was like, we have folders for each client, and I think we had a new client coming in, and we were going to type her name up, and we have this machine that you type it in and it prints out in a little sticker, little laminated thing, whatever. And the batteries died, right? And it's already like 5 p.m. or I'm about to clock out. Batteries died. I'm not a psychic. I'm posting on the batteries died. And she goes crazy, right? And the thing about this surgeon is that, some people they power trip, and he keeps the office small. He only hires the front desk ladies as unqualified, because we're not unqualified to be like a front desk, but like with the title that I had, I'm like surgical coordinator. Like, I didn't go to school, but I mean, you're private practice, so you can hire really anybody for any title.
Right.
So I did peep that he kept it very small because it was just the HR lady and then me and the other young girl. And she was so young, where she was like 20, 21. Not very timid, but just, you can still manipulate. Like, he keeps it where, I don't know the exact laws of a professional, surgeon's office, and he was perverted for sure. I don't know. When I think of surgeons, I have this like thing. I think either you're like gay or a serial killer.
What makes you say that?
Because I mean, like, I feel like the gay guys are really into the surgery and like the perfection, the beauty or whatever. I don't know, because they're more flamboyant and into that stuff. And then the psychopaths, because it's like to have, to enjoy cutting up a body.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of weird.
What?
Like, thank God for surgeons who save people's lives.
Right.
But yeah, it is a weird thing to
and I wonder, obviously,
open someone up.
Right? I'm like, good thing God gave them that urge to love to cut people open and have the curiosity about that. Because I remember
better for good than for bad, right?
That part. So yeah, overall, I the batteries died, and she blew up and had this whole fit because she was worried about him getting on her,
Jeez.
So everyone's just on eggshells, and he keeps it real small on people that are really not the stripper and this young girl that's probably coming from like bottle service or something, people who don't know too much about the actual professional world of what he can and can't do and how he should be talking appropriately and not. Of course, you can't hire Kelly with a degree, because she's going to be like, I'm going to talk to real HR. And she was HR. And I'm like, she's HR? You've called her name out and belittled her in front of us plenty of times. And
Jeez.
It's like, it seems like the people who he picks in his office are people who he can dominate or dictate, whatever, intimidate and stuff. And so she was so scared and so like, oh my God, we can't do this, like. And I'm like, girl, like, who's supposed to know that the battery's gonna burn out? Like, we can just get some tomorrow or just write the name on the thing. Like, it's a simple thing that could be solved, but no. And I blew up. I was like, I'm fucking tired of this. I'm done with this. Blah blah. I can't, do this anymore. And like, when I blow up, it's everyone's covered, duck.
You make a scene. It's a big ordeal.
Huge thing. And I was holding in so much, especially from the transition and just from like going from making 6 figures to making like $0, like $80 after I pay all my bills and that's over. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not fun, but at least I don't have to worry about, so it was just the whole transition and all that stuff. So I blew up. She was like scared. I was like, yep, all right, I did that. Sorry, I just left. And I just knew in the back of my head, like, I'm done. I am done. And I was just hoping and praying that I'm done. I hope and praying that she was like, not tell him or whatever. They just give me a second chance. And I think that week, I don't know if she was there or whatnot. I think we finished the week and he wasn't there for the rest of the week. And I don't believe that she was or whatnot. Or I think it was over the weekend or something like that. But long story short, it came and they're like, yeah, we have to talk to you and sit me in the office and be like, yeah, so, and they didn't even, the funny thing, they didn't even bring up that whole thing. They were just like, here's the, your papers for unemployment. Thank you for, being here, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And usually I would have this sense of just defeat, anxiety, stress, worry. Oh my God. But I had such relief, such peace. Like, thank God. Yes. Free. Like, this was not meant for me to like be here. It's just to really, now I know, just serve a purpose and to get me to the next spot. And after that, I just went straight. I was on unemployment, and then with all that good, extra money, I was just tapping into like brand ambassadoring.
There we go.
And right. And
that
modeling.
Brand ambassador work.
and my friend that I met, my friend that lived here before I lived here, he was putting me on to brand ambassadoring. So that's how I got in the mix with it. And I started with that. Life was good. And I mean, I was trying, again, it was still fairly like freshly out of COVID, probably the unemployment lasts for like a year or so. And then just like hustling and doing gigs on the side to hold me over. So probably like 2021, almost going into 2022 sort of. And stuff was just really, I was sinking, going underwater. And I was like, all right, God, like I'm trying to be in faith and what they say is, keep pushing, keep going, like, and I guess I was thinking like, well, I'm doing everything right. Literally every job, every opportunity I can think of to work. I mean, what was I doing? 1 billion jobs. I remember I was walking up. I was on Rover. I babysat cats and dogs. I remember for Christmas, I couldn't even go. I didn't go home for 2 years. I remember for Christmas, I literally dog sat over at these like couples place with these 2 dogs that were so one was cool because he was just all timid, and the other one was just, he would just start barking viciously at anyone, any dog, anyone, just start going crazy. And they didn't even like tell me that or warn me that, like, forewarning, like, do not go near anyone. They were just saying, like, yeah, just he's kind of, gets a little timid around people until they left, and I actually took him out. Went crazy, but that was the whole thing. I was a dog walker, cat sitter.
Did you ever think about going back to dancing?
So I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
So basically I was drowning underwater so bad, and I was like, God, like, what's good? Like, Because you're cute. I understand. They say, like, you know, you're on God's timing and stuff. But, like, come on now. Like, it's my timing. I'm going to lose my car. I'm going to lose all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
And I had other roommates. So I was, like, you know, responsible of pulling in my weight and my end. And I didn't want my other roommates to suffer and have to pay and cover me and stuff like that. Like, what? So I was just already, like, a month behind in rent. Overlap 3 months of my car where like time to get repoed. What else? There's just credit card bill, blah, like nothing was working. I was working my ass off. So I was like really sitting there drowning, like, all right, God, this is your time to come through. And in that time, he didn't come through the way I wanted him to come through. He didn't come through. So I was like, okay, I gotta do what I gotta do, you know, like, and then I figured out, I hit up one of my friends and I was, hey girl, I gotta go back to Miami. It's just not, and it's been probably almost a year and a half, almost 2 years since 2020 of March, and last day that I worked at the club. And she was on board, and it's funny because I was all in the church, and it's funny because I was always telling the church, like, pray for me about, like, you know, financially, because that was my main struggle, is financially, is trying to make it. And call the girl and call my girlfriend, figured it out. We both, she had a friend to stay with, and I could stay with her too. And I don't know if I had flight credit or just booked my flight out there, had some extra money or something, but I found a way out there, got out there, and then I got rehired. And there we go again, back in this cycle. And I really did feel like, damn, you know, here I am. Hey guys. And I went back there. Everyone's like, you know, like as if I never left, you know, which I was very nice and welcoming, like, oh, you know, because at that time, like 11 was a family, like it was a big like cult type thing, you know, like it was extremely hard to get hired there. Like only the baddest and the top, you know, notch girls get hired, and even the baddest girl ain't getting hired. And so it was a status to work there. Definitely died down after time, but yeah, so I went back, and I guess I stayed in it, I guess all the way up until I would say that the last time I actually went back was from this date a year ago. And from that year I would go, I wasn't living in Miami, but I'd go out there like every other month, every 2 months. I would go out there, get an Airbnb for a month, and like stack up a bunch of money.
So that's around the time that we met then.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember you saying that you were kind of like
back and
forth between Miami and LA. Still working out there.
Yeah, and it was just a process of, like I said, like when God wants it, the worst thing for someone, I guess, to happen to them is to get something good when they're not ready for it. And I think that it's still kind of, my faith is not very strong in there when it comes to financial, because I kind of got stung where I thought that God was going to come through for me financially and pay all the bills and stuff. But then when I look back at it, it's like, well, I still had some things to unravel. Like me going back again, it was completely my choice. Like, God doesn't, he does care, but like, rather if you lose your car or your house, like, you know, like it doesn't kill you, like you can get it again, you know, but in the physical world, when it's really happened, it's like, no, wait, like my car. So I couldn't give that up. I couldn't give the material things up, really. And it's still, to this day, it's very hard because kind of materialistic. I like the finer things in life, especially coming from poverty. I'm definitely humbled myself so much more knowing that there's no value in that. And usually the people who are materialistic hide behind that value. So they value yourself with the value that they have on. Right. Otherwise you strip them naked and they're just like, they don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So huge process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine going from making $5,000 a night. I mean,
that part.
There's good money in brand ambassador work, but it's not $5,000 a night.
Right.
So
slowly but surely.
Yeah.
I was just kind of comfortable in going back and forth with, working in Miami for a month, stacking up, coming back. Woo-doo-woo, but then, it did definitely mess with my modeling because then I would get like modeling auditions, and at the time gap would be crazy, and or like I just came from dancing I just got back from work. It's 7 a.m. Not even 7 a.m. You would get off at 7 a.m., get home around, and that's the thing. Like I would start probably around 10. You would want to get at 10, but you would strive for 11. It'd probably be 11:30, 12.
Wow.
1. And you really got to cut that habit because you got to do 6 hours. You don't have to do 6 hours, but there's a house fee, and the house fee goes down every like hour. So it starts out at like minimum 150, and then it goes down all the way after 6 hours, and it's only 40.
Oh, I see.
And but usually when you're done with the night and you're about to pay out, it's a lot more than 40 because they do again add fees on from the dances that you have done. So whatever dance you accumulated, they all add that up and stuff, and you pay them.
Wow. Yeah, getting off at 7 in the morning.
7 a.m.
I mean, how many days a week are you working at it with a schedule like that?
Just mainly the weekend.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah. Or I would try to, like, I would never, actually in the beginning, never work Sundays because Sundays is God's day, right? And I would try to go to church, go to Voo's. And that's the thing too, like, I'd be going to Voo's, like, hungover, like, and just hating that, hating that I can't even go to church not hungover because Saturdays are the biggest nights that you're gonna make the most money. Sacrifice a Saturday, what? So
yeah. Did you ever work sober?
You could try. I tried, but I'd have to have some type of alcohol for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe not like hard drugs and stuff, but definitely always like it was like had my like little pattern or whatever. I would, get there, clock in, get ready. I would always do my makeup beforehand. I've always been a girl who loves to do her makeup beforehand at work, at home, because it's just much more comfortable, and makeup is expensive. I don't want anyone messing with it or breaking or still, messing with it. So
yeah.
Get ready, get my drink ticket, because they would give you drink tickets that are half off. You would pay like $5 and they'd give you a drink ticket that could amount to whatever tequila or whatever drink except like 1942 and stuff like that. Get my drink and then sit at the bar until I got like buzzed up enough where I was like, all right, I'm ready to do rounds. And you would chat up with your girlfriends and do rounds with them, that's it. And
yeah, that's the case for most of the girls working. Like most girls would not work sober.
Yeah, no. And the girls who were sober are sober because they were addicts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
I've heard some stories, and one girl was like, yeah, I don't drink or smoke or anything. I used to smoke like 5 packs a day and drink a whole bottle a day, like crazy. And she was far gone and lost in the sauce. I mean, the girl, she would bring in the most money in the whole club. The most money. She'd bring all the rappers in, throwing thousands. She'd bring all the, but I mean, to gain the world and lose your soul, what's the cost? She was so gone and so sad, because it's like, ugh, God don't want this for you. God don't want, this for anyone. And that's hard for a dancer to admit, because it's like, whatever you're doing that's good or bad, like if you're in it, you're gonna try to make good of it, light of it, and try to sweeten it up. So that's what a lot of them do when you are just in the club, just trying to be transparent and real of like, I hate this. And some girls are like, what, girl, you're crazy, like you're just on vacation. It's just like, girl, you ain't having fun either. But they can't even come to truth of like that, because no, that's reality. They can't know, like this is this is all they know.
Yeah.
Which is so sad. And it really is. It's the money is so easy to do, but you do give away a piece of yourself.
What do you think about when you hear people talking about sex work or anything related to that industry, or dancing or stripping, in a way, like in a very positive light, in a way of like, this is something that is empowering. This is something,
I think they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I have no clue, and if you do, misery likes company. So you're either trying to pull in people in misery with you because you don't know nothing else better, so you want people to stoop to your level. Otherwise, no, it doesn't matter if you're making not all money is good money. It's definitely not good money. Like, would you want your daughter doing this? And this time and age, people are like, I don't care. But it's like, you don't. I've met women who've gotten roofied and raped in the club. Like, the club is not safe. And who cares? You think the manager and people they don't care? Wait, are you gonna go to trial? And no, they don't care. You're a stripper. And it's actually crazy, because the guy who was actually in there roofing girls was a cop. Yeah.
Holy shit.
A cop. Yeah. And I remember they put his photo in the back locker room. And I was like, dang, and he actually got one of my friends, and she didn't say anything about it, but I remember it shortly, like it was affecting her. And then I remember she just went MIA after that. Like, she never came back. And there was only a few dancers that could be very transparent, open, just like, here we are. Like, we don't want this for ourselves, but we don't know anything better. And then you have the ones that are like lost in the sauce. I'm like, oh, yeah, that are like prostitutes and stuff. That's their life.
Yeah. One thing that kind of surprises me about this whole conversation is that you're very open. You're very honest. You're very open, and you also have a certain positive energy about you, regardless of some really heavy stuff that you've shared. Was it always like that? Were you always that open and able to talk about this?
Yeah. I've always been someone who's wore my heart on my sleeve. Always been very open and transparent and just human.
Yeah.
And real, because like I don't know. I'm a human. I can't help it. Like,
Yeah.
And then I've always just been a happy person, a happy baby, even though I've went through trauma and crazy. Like, God had blessed me with just a happy spirit. in the love for my mom too. She really did a very good job, even though, we went through trials and tribulations and growing up and poverty and stuff like that. That's a whole lot, to grow up with. But yeah, she did her best. I would say definitely she did her best, and give her that. Best mommy in the world.
Yeah. At this point in your life, what's the dream, Rose?
Oof, the dream is to be debt free. Okay. Well,
Amen.
Yes.
I feel you on that.
Very close though. I'm not crazy in debt, so I'm not like, tripping. But debt free, and just to let go and let God. Really, for me, hound in with God, really just relationship. Like, even like I look at the Bible not as like more of like a book, but as like, okay, let me not look at it as like fictional characters, because you kind of think of this as like fictional, of actual people, that were just following Jesus, and that I believe to actually be influenced by God, and just jotting down and recording everything that they were going through with the walk of Jesus, and just obeying him and what he said to do and stuff. And I think it's amazing to look at it as that, because then it opens up as like a story. So I've been trying to it's hard to stay in the Bible and read it, because Netflix and scrolling on Instagram is just so much fun. And the flesh and the spirit always fighting every day of like, no, just do this and do that. And it's like, no. And I feel so much better too, spiritually, and just I can feel the Holy Spirit help me and work in me in the places that I can't on my own. Like, bro, I suck. We humans, we suck, like we need help. And I think the No Help Self book can really help that, because it's beyond the physical, it's spiritual. So I feel like the only power that can really correct that and help me with that when I'm weak is God. And I've seen that in my life, of just being in prayer, just be like, yo, what's up, God? Checking in on him every day as just a regular relationship, as you would your mom, your dad, whatever, not as like, oh, I have to, because if I don't, like nah, chill. Like, it's serious, but it's not that serious,
What about in terms of relationships, romantic relationships? Do you think that, because you had mentioned there was a certain degree to which that line of work had twisted that mentality, do you feel like there's been healing in that regard, or is that still a big process that's happening in your life?
I think it's pretty much fully healed from, not fully healed, but like pretty much healed from the point of like my viewpoint and my attraction and what I wanted, what I was even thinking of relationship, just everything. And I would recommend something that really changed my viewpoint of just relationships and with God and just, everything, is Relationship Goals from Mike Todd.
Okay.
It's like a whole series, and it's pretty lit, and it just really changed my whole opinion on just relationships, and how I just want to how like the results that I want for myself, you have to go about it a certain way, in a very stern and blunt way. Otherwise, the whole go with the flow type thing is like, why would I go with the flow and end up somewhere else and just wasted all that time, when I could have just been like, okay, these are my values, this is what I stand by, this is the type of man that I want, what's up, are you ready for that commitment and whatnot. But even though that I'm like, Lord, I want a man now, but I see that now, because I was really like sad, like, why am I've been single. Actually, my real last relationship was my ex in 2017. And then from there, it's just been situationships.
Right.
So nothing serious, just more for benefit, like status, you're super rich, money, whatever. We're good together for, just situationships. So it never was like, oh, I love this person. And I remember like the last month that I was in Miami, I met this one guy, and pretty much everything that I'm physically attracted to, and he was from the UK, and he had the UK accent. I'm a sucker for the UK accent.
Those British accents. Those damned British accents.
I'm voting. But yeah, no, I met him on the beach, and it's funny because that day I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just focus on myself. I'm a dancer. Like, no one's gonna accept me as a dancer or whatever. And that was in Miami. And I met him that day, and he asked for, my name, hanging out, and then he kind of like left me alone and got his number, and he like stayed on the beach, but he was like a little down further, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, oh, he's super cute, it's my type, whatever. Then when I was kind of done on the beach, I got my stuff, and I was leaving, and I seen that he was still there with his friend. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go over there and just say hi and say what's up. And I go over there and say what's up and start chatting. And his friend leaves. And then we're just sitting there just talking. And I can't even remember what we're talking about. But the bond, the chemistry, everything was just perfect. And he was my Alejandro, like it was perfect. So from there, like, we just got up and just started walking, like Ocean Drive or whatever, and just talking and chilling. Even like right when we got off of the beach, immediately on the street, like just for confirmation, this guy was like, "Dang, your girl is so beautiful. Dang, you're a lucky guy." And I'm like, I just met this guy, but like, yeah, right, we're cute.
That's funny.
So it was blissful, and just from that day and the whole day we just hung out, and he was going out with, I think it was like Friday or something, and I didn't tell him I was dancing. I was just like, oh, well, I told him I don't know if I told him I was a dancer. I think I told him I was a dancer for like this, but I believe he thought, because when I say dancer, some people, whatever you thinking is dancer, you're gonna go with. And some people think like choreography and dancing.
Yeah, it can be a little confusing.
Exactly. I'm not saying stripping, I'm saying dancing. So that could be ballet, whatever. So I told him I was working that night and whatever. So I had to leave Prince Charming for that night. And then the next day, of course, still, hungover. So, and I felt so bad because like all I wanted to do was just hang out with him. Just the fact that I found someone my age, and because so hard for me, my attraction, especially from just ex and the whole, it was in a whole different area. So actually to finally like focus my attention on someone young, hot, and like he was 25, which was crazy, and I was 26 at the time, I think. Yeah, I'm 26, 27. And I'm like, usually like, I date older guys. I've always dated older men because of daddy issues and all that stuff. So and he was so mature, and I just thought he was my age or even like a little bit older. And I'm just like, wow, like that's awesome. But I went to work, woke up, he wanted to hang out all day. So we hung out, went to the beach, just the whole thing. What do we eat? Food. It was just, I would say we were married. I felt like we were married. I felt like I found my husband, and yay, right? And long and behold, like the next day was his last day.
Dang.
So sad. He's already been there for like a whole week or whatever. But I just knew, I was like, and he was Christian and stuff. So
shit. Damn.
He was Christian, 6'4", just handsome, jawline. He was a UK, the accent, and then he was the professional soccer player too. So I was just like, man. Yes. So, but I remember he even we just bonded, went out all night, ice cream, just a movie, right? Hollywood movie. And he came over, and his Airbnb or his spot that he was staying at, like the AC like broke and something, and he was like with his buddy, and guys can get a little sweaty and whatever. I'm like, why don't you come to my spot? So he came over and he slept over and everything, but like we didn't do anything. We just cuddled and stuff because it was like it was such an amazing bond on a level of like best friends and lovers, to the point where like sex would be too much. That's like, whoa. That's, why would we're having such a good time now where we're just enjoying each other, that like sex is like another level. Like that's way too much, you know? And that mindset is just such freedom, relaxing, comfort, knowing that you can meeting that person on just the friend and lovers level without because like once you tap into like sex, it does tap in spiritually, physically, mentally into a whole different level. Like once you cross that line, it's like, you know, it's different. So, and we didn't want to do that. We didn't have to even say that. We just knew, you know, and it was short-lived, but before all that even came over, the whole day we were spending that whole day, I had to tell him like, hey, I you know, I can't keep this from you because I know that this could be a deal breaker or whatnot, and I just, you know, feel like you should know. Like I can't lie, I'm not a liar. So I told him like, yeah, I'm a dancer, but you know, I always say I'm the Cardi B dancer. And I'm like, huh, what is that? And I'm like, I'm a stripper, okay. So yeah, and it shocked him, and he's like, geez, like, yeah, it was a deal breaker for him, but
Really?
Which was respectable, and I knew it, but it still stung and hurt to hear it, to be like, I knew, yeah, of course, and I'm like, it's okay. I was telling him it's fine, we could just be friends. He's like, well, I don't want to just be friends, and blah 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 blah. And you know me, I was like, me either. I want to go to Berlin and move there for 3 months in Europe, and so, but yeah, he wasn't going with it, and yeah, he just couldn't do it. I remember he was saying like, he's like, oh, it's so funny because the last girl he was talking to, she was like modeling for Playboy Bunny or something, and you know, and so it just seems like every chick he runs into is some type of sex worker, you know. Which as a Christian man, and just those values, totally understand, because if I was in that situation, like, I don't want my woman doing none of that. Nuh-uh, that whole body, everything, that's for me, you know, like, that's mine. No, that's private for me. So totally understand that. And that's exactly what I, you know, wanted to hear. Obviously I didn't, but I like did, because it's like, I get that. Like, it was sad that like you couldn't, quote unquote, be mature enough to understand but like not the volume of dealing with someone who's been in that industry, it's two different worlds, so you have to kind of be familiar with that world to really understand it. And when you're not, it's completely taboo. And they think of this whole thing, and they can't bring it back to mom because, like, what if, And he thought, like, and a lot of people think, like, he even asked, and a lot of people ask, like, well, do you want to do this? Like, why are you, you know, it's like, no, I don't. I just don't know any other option. Like, I go to 9 to 5, and, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I don't have no degree, you know, like, 9 to 5 at a restaurant, and kiss people's asses for some baby tips. Like, I personally would love to do it, but my anger management, my anger issues, and won't let me, because like, I don't care who, what, when, where. If you're the president, I don't care. Like, if you're disrespecting me or belittling me, I've gotten better without, like, you know, cussing someone out and stuff. But no, I'll pop off. Like, you're not disrespecting me. Sorry. Like, and that's so funny, because like when I look at the Bible, it's like, oh, you know, someone smacks your one cheek, you know, let them smack the other. And I'm like, once that smack my cheek, I'm punching them. Like, what are you talking about? You're tripping. And I think it was like his name was Thaddeus in the Bible, and he like cut someone's ear, some Roman's ear off or something. And I'm like, that's me. I cut somebody's ear off for Jesus. I'm just wild. No, got some healing to do for sure. But I definitely healed a lot. And I think that whole experience meeting him was like kind of just like a glimpse of like, hey, God showing me of what I could have when I'm there and prepared. I think it didn't work out because it wasn't meant to be, and I wasn't even at the time again where I could even steward something good like that. And like I don't think it's even fair for someone to be in a place where they're a little bit more healed, because I want to be equally yoked with my husband, and then because the doors that I have open, and just, you know, I want my husband to relate to me in a way of like understanding that lifestyle. Not saying he has to come from like drug dealing and like, you know, trauma, but it's nice to have someone that understands that, so they're not gonna just offer up judge you and think like, oh, do you want to do this, or why are you, what's wrong with you, and are you gonna go back, and da da da, you know, and all this stuff. And it might throw it in your face or something, you know, etc. So that's why I would need a man to really be a very godly man that's understandable. But I would feel like I would want to be that godly woman, which I am. And again, it's just a process, because there's, for a minute, the devil was definitely lying to me and making me think that I had to like get to this quote unquote Proverbs woman. Like I have to get there. I like, you know, I want to be there. And it's like, you know, we think we have to look a certain way and do a certain something and check off the box to quote unquote be that Christian that can present themselves on the pedestal and be the light to everyone and the leader. But it's like, no, that's not what we're called to do. Just tell your neighbor, what's up? You know, Jesus? No. Okay, cool. Here he is. And then focus on yourself, and you're a child of God, your daughter or son of God, and these are the things you're dealing with, and you are a Proverbs woman. We're just working it out, you know. And I'm like, I do believe that God has stripped some stuff away that I didn't necessarily see in the beginning when I wanted a man, where I'm like, yeah, I got some issues right there. Like, I got some spirits and some open doors that are still like, that I'm still struggling with, which is fine, because I mean, no one's gonna be perfect. You're always gonna be struggling with something, but some things that I feel like I don't want to bring into my marriage or relationship until I deal with that, because like I'm like mad lonely. I'm like, damn, you're gonna get a cat. Like legit. And I think that's another reason why too I really wanted to like kind of like escape and run away and travel, is because I feel like a lot of my friends right now too, I'm just getting older, people are getting married and stuff, and I'm like,
everyone's getting married
and
left,
having
right,
kids
center,
and buying a house and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I'm not trying to subject myself to the age and to the numbers of, you're 30, you have to be like in this place, and like, because it's like when it comes, I'm not going to force it, because I'm thinking like, are y'all really in love? Like, are y'all just really settling? And I'm kind of convinced a lot of y'all are just settling, or you were in love with the puppy love, and now it's, you know, just survival. That's all you know. So some people get caught up in that. So yeah.
Well, what advice would you give to somebody who's in the industry, just starting out, young, maybe similar story to you, if you could say something to them?
Starting out dancing?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you could go back and say something to yourself when you were 18.
Okay. And saying that if
I mean, just what would you want to tell yourself back then?
It would be so hard to say it in a way that my younger self would really understand and be like, okay, I get that, I will do it, versus be like, oh yeah, sure, okay. I would tell, save all your money and do not spend it on dumb shit. On dumb stuff like clothes and even bags, and trying to look them, because you're like, oh, I'm a dancer, so like Louis bags, like, I deserve it. I work hard. I deserve, you think you deserve it all. I think you deserve $100 meals and deserve this. You work but like, of all the money I spent, and it's like, but you don't know because you're so young, dumb, and just blissful. And the famous quote that dancers say is, "Oh, I'll make it back tomorrow. I'll make it back to next week," and that's what gets you. Is like that's why it's called fast money.
Dang.
It's because we always think that there is tomorrow that's gonna come until COVID hits, or until like life happens. And I think the industry now is watering down, but I would say save all your money or just get out. If you are going to get into dancing, the biggest trap in getting caught in is dancing just for extra money, just to get by, just to, I've seen this one chick who literally was just dancing to pay for her school and get out. I remember seeing her, and I'm like, props to her. I wish I was like tech savvy and just that non-ADHD, OCD, all that stuff person, where I could sit on my computer and do essays of my classes before I'm even downstairs in the locker room as a dancer, for like, I've seen her, she from beginning, from when I started, she started all the way up until now. She's a mom, and she had bought a house with her husband, and have her own business and all that stuff. So she came up, and the beauty about her story was that she did have support. She did have a man through the whole thing, in which that's night and day. Support when you have someone who's paying your bills. You gotta pay about worry about that, and you have someone to love you at night who already accepts you, versus you looking out for love and someone to accept you. But her studying and getting through was fantastic. So it's seen some positive in there. You can get through it, but otherwise, if you're getting into the dancing, I'd say get in with the exact amount of money you want to make. Like, I don't know how much that is, 50,000, 10,000, 100,000, whatever that is, for whatever reason. For it's like, oh, I need $100,000 because this will get my business to then get this, to then get this, or for my degree, or whatever that is. You have to have a plan to only look at it as a temporary thing to get money for something to get income from somewhere else. Because if this is just your income, that's going to be your income forever. You're forever going to get addicted, because there's nothing like that you can make that kind of money that quick underneath the table by doing nothing but just selling yourself and talking. I mean, you're doing a lot, but yeah. So that's what I'd say is go in there with an exact amount that you want to make. And the minute you make it, get out. But even then, just don't do it at all. Please don't do it, because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And it's a trap. It's a trap. You think you got it under control. You think you got it figured out. You don't. That's the lie from the devil. It's no. It's not good. It doesn't bring anything. I've seen people, OD, die, come from like being clean to then getting on heroin and meth. Jesus. Oh my Atlanta. Yeah. Being pimped out, beat up, kidnapped. Yeah. Kidnapped.
Who got kidnapped?
Some chick in Vegas. When I was living in Vegas, I was working at the Palomino. Freaking kidnapped by like another pimp, which is pretty crazy. But and she got back. I think she's just traumatized now. But
jeez.
Yeah, just stuff like that. Like if you try to run away,
Yeah.
you know, if you got a gorilla pimp, you ain't running away. He's gonna come find you, you know. And yeah, so craziness. I've seen it all. Thank God I have not been entwined with it, and I've just been a standby and a viewer. But I'm a person that can learn from other people's mistakes, which is a blessing.
Yeah. Well, it's been powerful to hear your story, Rose.
Thank you.
I mean, it's quite a story.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for people to be able to share openly what they've been through. I mean, life is not straightforward. And I think that, you know, especially for me, like I grew up in a small town, conservative Christian small town. And I think that a story like yours is important because it shows that life's complex and people come from all different backgrounds.
Right.
And experiences. And you know, your faith dynamic too is very fascinating as well, because that's something that is pretty different probably for a lot of people. And yet, I mean, that's a driving force in your life. And a pretty crucial part of your story. So thank you for sharing that. I'm excited to see, you know, where you go. It's been a process. It's been a journey. And I'm excited to see where that path takes you.
Well, good news now. I'm set. I'm not. There's no plan on going back. I'm doing very well in my modeling and brand ambassading acting career to where I'm good. You know. Yeah. So that's beautiful and a blessing, and more things to come and forth. So it's in my past, and that's why I'm confident enough to open up about it. Because yeah,
not going back.
It's for birds.
Well,
but yeah,
I believe in you, and
Thank you.
this was awesome. So
yeah,
thank you so much for sharing your story, and
of course,
we'll see where it goes. So
okay, deuces, y'all.
Thank you for listening to the Spring Street Podcast. If you'd like to support the show, sign up for the Patreon to receive exclusive behind the scenes content, and check out the sponsor links in the description.